how long it takes to get – how long it takes to beat Clemson, number one. I think that's the first step, truly. I think the first step is truly beating Clemson again. Like Will Vandervoort said, Diesel, look, you got to have bragging rights first. You know, you got to be able to beat your rival before you can be the premier state in the program. And for the past few years under Mark Kingston, South Carolina has not had a dominant stretch against Clemson. It's been split a lot of times. Yeah, he won a few games, Diesel, but the first step for South Carolina to take the state back is, look, you've got to recruit the guys that are on the fence. The guys that are on the fence. Like, for example, there are players like Cam Canarella who plays at Clemson, who grew up a South Carolina Gamecock fan and wanted to play for South Carolina, ended up going to Clemson. So the first step is recruiting the guys that are on the fence. If this new staff with Monty Lee, like you said, I agree, keeping him is a big addition. It's a big it's a big piece of added value in my mind. But Paul Mainieri has to be able to get these guys that are on the fence to come to him first in order for them to be able to start beating Clemson on a regular basis. That's step one, in my opinion.
Shout out to Andrew, the textbook, who is in here watching the stream. Tolos, who have turned it on early, and hopefully we'll leave it on for the entire show. We're broadcasting live here from Ingles Markets inside the Corner Cafe at 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs, just off of I-85, man. This is a store that I haven't been to yet. I know you. This is like your home store.
Well,
you basically walked here today, right?
No, I live, so there's actually three in, I'm going to use air quotes,
Whoa.
Boiling Springs. So this one is for the locals in Spartanburg. This is what we call Springfield. Like this area right here is considered the Springfield location. So Springfield really consists of like a few blocks right here. Then if you go over to Highway 9 to Bowling Springs, you have another Ingles. And then if you go toward Lake Bowen on Highway 9 Diesel, you have another Ingles. So there are several Ingles. I live toward Lake Bowen, but this is also, great example. Right across the street from us. You know, last week we talked about the new charter school, Mountain View Prep.
Yep.
Right across the street. This is technically Boiling Springs zone for public school. But if you go a mile that way, it's Spartanburg. If you go this way, it's Chapman. And if you go that way, it's Dorman. Dorman district is right a mile behind us, going toward like Business 85. So it's a crossroads right
Feels
here.
like standing in the Four Corner states, where if you stand in exactly the right spot, you could be in Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, or New Mexico all at the same time.
Welcome to Spartanburg, right?
Yeah, right?
I mean, it really is. It's absolutely wild. So, all right, let's go to the text line. The question is, to lead the show, how long will it take for Paul Mainieri to get South Carolina to being the elite program in the state of South Carolina? You have to get past Clemson. You have to get past Coastal, right? I mean, Coastal's a good program. Yeah, they're losing a legend, but they're still going to be good. Wofford was really good this year.
I'm excited to see who Coastal Carolina is going to sign. I mean, obviously, with what they had there, they were able to keep a high level of play for a very, very long time. And you know they're not going to want to let that go away, right? They're not going to let that, that dominance that they've had in the Sun Belt, especially in the Big South before that, go away. So I would expect Coastal to make a pretty big splash hire as well.
They're promoting a guy from within. He's been there for a few years now. He was at Coastal, left, came back to Coastal, and that's who they're promoting. And his name's slipping my mind. I'll find it in a minute, but Coastal is going to promote from within. So also Charleston Southern was open, Citadel open, South Carolina open, Coastal. I mean, there were a lot of openings last year. Wofford was open, so there's a lot of openings in the state of South Carolina right now when it comes to baseball. But the 483 on the text line says, Paul better get South Carolina back up to par quickly. The last thing anyone needs is Clemson fans having even more to brag about. I'm surprised Clemson fans don't have more rotator cuff injuries with how often they pat themselves on the back. This comes from Boston Scott in Simpsonville.
Cole, you know as well as I do, in this rivalry in Clemson, South Carolina, it's what have you done for me lately? If you win the last game, I don't care what it is. I don't care what sport it is. You have bragging rights until the next time you play. Sure. That's how this rivalry works. Everything is contentious with this rivalry. Recruiting rankings are contentious. How you're doing in the transfer portal. Well, it's not contentious because Dabo doesn't use it, and Shane Beamer really does. But all of these things are competitive, man. All of these things matter. I mean, I walk through my own neighborhood, Cole, and I see houses side by side with Clemson and South Carolina flags flying them at each other. So these people are at each other's throats all the time. But we also need to define, Cole, what does being back for South Carolina mean? Like, we need to actually create
a good question.
A benchmark. They were, 13-17, something like that in the SEC this year. To me, being back, number one, you have to get on the good side of conference record. You have to be back on the plus 500 side of that. And you need to be making super regionals again. Just make super regionals. Hosting is fantastic. That's great, right? But you need to be at the bare minimum making super regionals more often than you miss them. So, I mean, that's one of those things, a result that can't play out for 3 years. You know, we won't know for 3 years if he's there. And that might be all the time they get out of Paul Mainieri.
So I think that for South Carolina, to kind of answer your question on we have to define what being back looks like, I think that South Carolina, year in and year out, should be in contention to host a regional. I'm not saying they have to host every single year. I'm not saying that because that is a little bit unrealistic, right? But South Carolina does have to be in contention every single year to host a regional. They fell out of contention earlier this season. And in order for them to be back, Diesel, they're going to have to, number one, in my opinion, I like the question, they're going to have to beat Clemson consistently. They're going to have to host a regional.
Yep.
And then everything else is obviously Omaha's the expectation, but everything else is gravy.
I mean, pre-Eric Bakich, it was pretty lopsided. South Carolina was beating up on Clemson pretty heavily in that series. And that's what they got to get back to. That is being back. That will always be a litmus test. I don't care what sport it is. I'm sure there's Clemson fans who have bragged about winning one time in dressage 15, 20 years ago when South Carolina was great in winning dressage competitions, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, what does being back actually mean? Text in 71307. Start your text with keyword fan so that it comes directly to us. You Tolos who are watching on the stream, appreciate you. Talking about you, Madcraft, who might actually make an appearance out here today.
What?
At Ingles in Boiling Springs.
Is that true?
He said he might. He might make it, which means
what is that like?
Yeah,
40,
the over-under.
60?
Yeah, I'm going to say 60% he doesn't make it, 40% he does.
Mad.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Madcraft has told me many times he was going to be somewhere.
You know who I want to see?
Hasn't.
We've done several events now, Diesel, since we've gone on air. Since Wire to Wire debuted, we've done a lot of events. We have not seen, at least to my knowledge, we have not seen formerly Spur Daddy, currently Brew Daddy.
That's true.
I mean, what's the deal, man?
We
Where
need
are we
some
at?
face-to-face time with Brew Daddy. It's going to take me some time to get used to that, right?
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, you got to show up. You got to show up. And, we have so many good Tolos. By the way, if you just tuned in, I know we have new listeners join us every day on radio as well as our social medias where you can watch us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. If you hear us say Tolo, it used to be P1. That stands for turn it on, leave it on. That's what you are, the listener. That's what we ask you to do. Turn it on, leave it on. Right now, Diesel, there are some Fan Upstate shirts.
Yeah.
I don't know how many, but there are some shirts. I have one on. And
two of these sweet Fan Upstate fitted hats that could be yours if you walk through the door.
Listen.
So, Madcraft, I know you want one of these things, man. These are hard to come by.
If we run out of T-shirts,
I got two of them right here. Look at that. This could be yours. And it's nice and new and crisp looking.
I wear an extra large, so if we run out, I can at least take mine off and give it to someone, too. If they will allow me to do the rest of the show shirtless.
Did you shave today?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Nobody wants to see that.
No. So come out, see us. Again, we are on Asheville Highway. The exact address is 8650 Asheville Highway, Bowling Springs. Us locals call it the Springfield location. What's Ricky have to say? Ricky
says, yeah.
Go ahead, Deez. I'm sorry.
Hopefully the Fighting Chickens will return to glory. But that's the question, Ricky. What does that mean? We need some definitive answers here from you. What does returning to glory for South Carolina baseball mean? Now, if you're saying Paul Mainieri has to go win us a national championship in 4 years, man, that's a big ask. That is a big ask, especially with how competitive the SEC is and how competitive, especially college baseball in the Southeast is.
There you go. There's your answer. That's what I thought he said.
Championship, dude.
Listen, that is their expectation. That's why they couldn't stand Mark Kingston.
And this is the hard thing about hiring a coach who's going to be 67 before he coaches his first game. You don't have a lot of years with him, right? At most,
I'll say 5 at most.
5 at most, 6 would really be pushing it. I mean, man, saying that he's got to get you to national championship contention in 3 to 5 years, that's big. I mean, certainly he has the pedigree and the resume to say, I can get you there. I know exactly how to get you there because I got my LSU teams there.
Notre
and
Dame.
I won national championships at LSU. I got my Notre Dame team before that there. Come on down here. And, of course, he's got Rooney, the fantastic recruiter from LSU. He's got Monty Lee, the fantastic recruiter there at South Carolina. I mean, I think the deck is stacked in the best possible way for him, especially when, again, we know that he is not going to be a super huge portal guy. Like, he's not going to be super excited to go use the portal and do what you have to do to be successful in the transfer portal, but he's got the people around him who will.
You know, what's fascinating is I think South Carolina fans, Diesel, maybe they won't admit it, but in my opinion, one thing that's really hurt them over the past 2 years has been watching Clemson have such success so quickly with Eric Bakich.
Yeah.
Eric Bakich, his second year at Clemson. This past year, he'll be entering his third. He did the final press conference today where he talked about what was going on Sunday, what happened Sunday night. But when South Carolina fans have seen what Eric Bakich has done at Clemson, how he was able to go to the Super Regionals, 2 fantastic games last year against Tennessee, this year against Florida. Both of them did not go in Clemson's favor, but I think that's the reality, right? Like, Eric Bakich has put a lot of pressure on South Carolina. Eric Bakich has put a lot of pressure on Ray Tanner. So that's the reality of it. Listen, if Clemson baseball wasn't winning right now, Diesel, the conversation might not be the same. There might not have been as much pressure on Mark Kingston, but if he were regularly beating Clemson.
Well, there might not have been as much pressure on Ray Tanner if South Carolina was beating Clemson, even if they were beating them with Mark Kingston, right?
Yeah.
The pressure wouldn't be,
it matters.
Hey, we got to be great in the SEC. We got to get to regionals. We got to get to supers, but we also have to beat Clemson. I mean, look, we've seen now twice down the stretch in this at the end of this season in this tournament that Eric Bakich showed himself to be a coach of the people, right? He is a people's champ. They love him when he jumped into the stands. They love him when he got in that umpire's face and got thrown out of that game. It might have been a stupid strategic decision, but they love him. He is a high-energy guy, and that's one of those things that Paul Mainieri is going to have to compete with, right?
Yeah.
Especially for recruits.
For sure.
You know, it's like Eric Bakich can walk into a recruit's living room and say, hey, I'm the number one guy here. You've seen me. You know who I am. Who is the number one guy down there? Is it the head coach who's only going to be there for 1 or 2 more years? Is it the assistant coach? Is it the guy they brought over? Who's running this ship down in Columbia? That's what he'll be able to say. I mean, look, it doesn't necessarily have to be true. Doesn't necessarily have to have a big foundation for them to use it against them in recruiting, and they will.
Well, the reality of it is it's exactly what I talked about yesterday. While Paul Mainieri's the face, there may be a lot of kids who commit to South Carolina because of Monty Lee.
Yeah.
And Ricky on the stream, I agree with you, Ricky, to an extent. Ricky says Monty Lee's the future coach in waiting. I certainly think that here's the issue with that, Ricky. I agree. However, when Paul Mainieri's run is done at South Carolina, the number one question you need to ask, whether that's 5 years or 8 years, the number one question that you need to ask is, will Ray Tanner still be the AD? Because if Ray Tanner is the AD, Monty Lee has a very good chance of being the coach. However, if they have a new AD, Ray Tanner has 2 years left on his deal right now. If they get a new AD on the back end of Paul Mainieri's contract, and then the new AD hires a baseball coach, there's no guarantee that Monty Lee is the future coach in waiting. But I would say with him being there, that gives him as good as a chance as anybody.
Look, now that it is official, Cole, we're going to have a lot of Gamecock fans who are nervous about this hire coming out in full support. And I'm happy that you are willing to do that as Gamecock fans. It takes the entire fan base being behind whoever the hire is. You know, it's always tough when you got a center block around 1 foot to really make the strides that you want to make, Cole. But when you look at the poll that we posted yesterday, it is basically 50-50 in happy about it or unhappy about it.
Yeah.
When you add up the stoked and the cautiously optimistic, that's 50%. When you add up the perplexed and the hate it crowd, that's basically 50%. This fan base is divided on this. Some will have to come around. Some may need to see some wins put up on the board before they're willing to do that.
And that's the last thing I was going to say. Whatever South Carolina fans say now, Diesel, this all a lie. And I don't mean that in a negative way, because you know as well as I do, you let Paul Mainieri and Monty Lee and those guys go out there and win 17 SEC games next year, and they'll think Paul Mainieri is the greatest thing in the world, and, he's Steve Spurrier for the baseball program, and all will be okay. Winning cures everything, right?
Yeah, Ricky said Monty Lee is the future coach in waiting. We questioned that yesterday. Ricky, smart minds think alike. Elton Chapman says, nope. Elton, is that in reference to Ricky's comment that Monty would be the coach in waiting? I mean, if you weren't excited about him this time around, which a lot of Gamecock fans were not, we talked about that at length last week when we were out on location. If you weren't excited about it last week, what makes you think you're going to be excited about it 3 to 4 years from now, right? He will still be a former Clemson coach at that point. We're live here from the Ingalls Market inside the Corner Cafe at 8650 Asheville Highway, Boiling Springs, South Carolina. When we come back, Cole, just what kicker did the people of Stewart's, Connecticut throw at Dan Hurley to keep him at UConn? It's going to blow you away. That's coming up next here on Wire to Wire on the Fan Upstate.
Bryson, keyword fan.
And connect with Diesel and Cole Bryson on Wire to Wire. This is the Fan Upstate.
Cole, what would you say? 40%, 50% of all of our 5 o'clock fights are about food. And we talk about
say
food
at least 50.
a lot
Yeah.
on this show. And what are one of our favorite foods here on the Fan Upstate and on Wire to Wire? Chicken wings. That is what a restaurant in Storrs, Connecticut offered Dan Hurley upon his return to UConn after turning down that massive contract that he would have gotten from the LA Lakers. A restaurant called J. Timothy's Tavern rewarded Dan Hurley with free wings for life for not taking the job in Los Angeles.
God.
I mean, you know, he was already making, what did we do the math yesterday? He was making $3 million a year, whatever it was. I think it's $3 million a year. He turned down $9 million a year in Los Angeles, but now he's got $3 million and all you can eat wings whenever you want them.
Like any day?
Any day. That's what the tweet
and
said.
Chicken wings are expensive too.
Yeah,
man.
those things are like, you know,
it's like right now they're like $2 a wing. So
yeah, it's
like,
absurd.
If he ate 10 a day, you're looking at like $20 a day, right? Roughly. And let's say every day, it'd be like $7,280 a year.
Hey, it's not
That's
bad.
Crazy. That's a lot of money.
Bad. So, like, you may be saying to yourself, Cole, wouldn't you get tired of chicken wings? Well, I mean, you know, you got all different flavors of chicken wings. Goat flavor of chicken wings on 3. Okay, we're going to say it together. 1, 2, 3.
Honey
dry
mustard.
rub barbecue.
I like any kind of like honey.
Yeah.
Anything that has the word honey in it. Like a lot of places have like a smoked honey.
Honey sriracha.
Honey sriracha.
Honey
Anything
barbecue.
with the word
honey mustard. All of it
sign
good.
me up.
All of it good.
I'm a honey mustard. I'm a honey wing guy.
So would you get tired of the format of chicken wings, or would you get tired of all the flavors of chicken wings first?
No, I think that eventually, like, you know, in your mind, you think to yourself, like, I can't get tired of that because I love it. However, like if I go eat Chick-fil-A 2 or 3 times in a row or something, you do start to get tired of it. Like your mind just kind of, you know, gets tired of it.
How many times in your life, tell the truth, because I know it's not 0.
Mm-hmm.
How many times in your life would you say you have gone to the same drive-through twice in one day? You ever done that? You've done it,
I'm
right?
sure I have once, at least.
Tolos, tell us.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to the same, like, you don't even realize you're doing it, right?
So I've probably done it with, like, Bojangles, who's a sponsor, by the way.
You're a busy guy. You're all over town.
Well, breakfast,
yeah.
Okay, then you go back for, like, dinner. So that is, that is, that's not a bad thing, though.
I've caught myself doing it a few times. I always feel like a trash bag when I do that.
I do, too.
But I have done it.
But if you eat breakfast is one meal and then lunch and dinner is the other, you shouldn't feel bad about it because
it's
2 different meals.
If you're traveling, that's one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you know as well as I do. You go to you stop right here on the highway at 85, and you're probably going to find a McDonald's. You're probably going to find a Burger King. You go, 400 miles down the road, and you're in like Alabama, guess what? There's going to be a McDonald's and a Burger King, and they're there. So it's like trustworthy. You're going to go to the same place multiple times on the same day. But good thing is, Cole, he doesn't necessarily have to eat just chicken wings for life, because a local 100-year-old butcher shop in Storrs, Connecticut, Martin Rosal's Meats, pledged free hot dogs and kielbasa's for life also.
Now, I'll tell you, I would get tired of hot dogs every day. Like, I'll eat them if that was all I had to eat.
Change it up, get a chicken dog, get a pork dog, get an all-beef dog.
Like, I think I've told you this before on this show. I eat hot dogs. I like hot dogs, but I only eat them like once every maybe month. Really, I don't eat hot dogs often. Maybe 12 times a year I eat hot dogs. Like if it's a barbecue or at somebody's house, it's different.
Yeah. So I'm going to say, Cole, now, if I ever choose to leave this job, I'm going to put Peddler on the clock. So see if we can get Peddler to sponsor us.
I went there like 4 days ago. This past weekend. I love it.
How much was it?
Don't ask.
More than you could afford?
I don't want to talk about that. Don't want to talk about it.
Tolos, what's your goat chicken wing flavor? Text in right now, 71307. Start your text with keyword fan, or like Madcraft just did, jump in on the stream on Facebook, Twitter, or on YouTube.
By the way, good to see one of our listeners, Kendrick, who just stopped in at Ingalls. You can do the same thing. We are at Ingalls on Asheville Highway. What's the physical number?
86. You lost
8650.
8650, yeah.
Springfield location.
Good thing the Golf Channel isn't here. They would have thought he was Vince Young.
God. terrible.
We had that
You
audio
were absolutely
yesterday.
terrible.
Just rough for that girl. And, she's never going to live that down. She's probably going to have a long, great career covering golf for the Golf Channel. But 30 years from now, she's going to be at some Golf Channel roast, and someone's going to bring that up. They're going to play that video, and they're going to get her with it again and again and again. Cole, here's another crazy story coming out of the sports world. As things are starting to get a little bit slower. We don't have as much live sports to talk about, and certainly with baseball, once we get down the stretch after the All-Star break, number one, hopefully the Braves don't suck the way they do right now, getting beat 4-0 last night in Baltimore. But stories are getting a little thinner, right? We don't have as much incredible sports happening right now down the stretch in a sport. So we got to get a little bit creative with what we talk about here, Cole. This is a hugely viral story that I didn't know about until today. The mystery Edmonton Oilers flasher who went viral for flashing her tatas mid-game May 31st while the Oilers were playing your Dallas Stars has finally broken her silence, Cole, on what inspired her to show the world her hockey pucks.
Now, how is she affiliated with the team?
She's not. She's just a fan.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, she's a very attractive fan.
She probably
by
has
the way.
fans now too.
Yeah, I bet she does.
Huh.
She's only identified as Kate. She was tracked down by Barstool Sports Spittin' Chicklets podcast.
God, what a name.
Yeah, right. They asked her what that's you ever heard of somebody call your teeth chiclets?
No,
like
I have
you get
not.
hit in the mouth, like with a ground ball in baseball, or I guess at this point, probably a hockey podcast. You get hit in the mouth, you spit your teeth out, and it's called Spittin' Chicklets.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Learned something new today.
I've heard that before today. They asked her, like, what made you do this? What made you whip up her top? She says, you know what? I don't know. She goes, I think the handful of Cheez-Its that I ate that day and the 8 Trulies that I drank in the first period was definitely inspiring.
You think?
So, yeah, I mean, she wasn't feeling the cold, clearly. And she hadn't eaten anything all day except a bunch of Cheez-Its.
Women are the absolute worst with that.
Can we normalize that? Is that something in 2024?
Showing tatas?
Well, yeah, I mean, guys can take their tops off in public.
Well, I'm just saying.
You got to go to Asheville for that kind of action, though.
I may get pushback. Women are the worst. The world's worst at not eating anything and then drinking. I don't know if they do it on purpose or if it's just like didn't eat anything, but you know what happens when you don't eat anything and you drink, it yeah, it's not a good thing.
So to her benefit, Cole, she has received a couple of offers since the event happened. It spread like wildfire on social media. I'm sure you guys could go find it. You perverts, you can go find it if you want to. But she has received employment offers from a number of naughty websites.
Jeez.
One website promised her up to $100,000 to recreate that event on their streaming service. I have the name of the service. I'm not going to say it on the air.
Okay.
But $100,000, Cole. $100,000 to do it. And she was like, you know what? Wasn't planned. It was just spur of the moment. Don't you? There was an event a couple of years ago, Cole. I think it was in the Major League Baseball playoffs where a couple of mattress actresses were spotted somewhere around like the 10th row during the World Series doing exactly this, trying to distract the opposing pitcher. Like the owner of the website or the owner of the production company was was a fan of the other team.
Yeah.
So he got 2 of his entertainers to go out there and
it probably worked.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. By the way, much respect to Kate and who she actually is, Cole. She is an oil field worker. And she says,
wow,
no, they're not.
She probably makes good money in the oil
Probably,
field.
Yeah. I didn't realize you could be that hot and work in the oil fields. Who knows? I don't know what she does for a living. Every oil field worker, my imagination, what I see is like a big burly dude that's filthy and covered with schmutz and
with
grime and oil.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what it would be like to work with a smoking hot oil worker. But she says, no, they're not real.
So
in case you were wondering.
Oh, wow. She shut that down real quick.
Yeah, she did.
She shut it down. Well, at least she was honest about it.
Madcraft says, mattress actress. That's a new one for me. You never heard that before, Madcraft? Never heard that one before. Okay.
What is mattress?
Mattress actress.
Huh.
Yeah. Cole, we do have a chance for the Tolos to win a $25 Ingles gift card. I do not have the clues. You have the clues. Jay sent you the clues. So in just a moment here, Cole is going to give you the first clue and your chance to win a $25 Ingles gift card.
What email should I pull?
Your company email. It is. By the way, we are at 8650 Asheville Highway, Boiling Springs, inside the Corner Cafe. The whole crew is here. We want to see you out here too, and your chance to win a gift card that could be dinner for the night. You just walk in, pick up your gift card, and guess what? You can go over to the Corner Cafe. You can go over to the deli and get yourself a heck of a meal for the family tonight.
All right, I do have the clues. You ready? The first clue for your chance to win a $25 gift card. This item comes in 2 sizes and can be found in several different places in and out of the store. So again, this item comes in 2 sizes and can be found in several different places in and out of the store. That's clue number 1. If you get it right, you'll win an Ingles gift card.
Well, given what we just talked about, Cole, I have an idea, but I don't think it's the right answer.
In and out. That is a tough clue.
Yeah.
By the way, do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, I looked at the first part of the text, but I did not look at the answer. So I, as of right now, don't know
either.
I do not know. That is a difficult clue, Jay Wilson. Jay's not here. I don't know if Jay's coming, but if he's listening, Melissa, Jay, whoever came up with that, that's a very good first clue, because sometimes I do think they're a little too easy, but not this one. I think this one's pretty tough.
Yeah,
pretty tough.
they're realizing they got to make them tougher, Cole, because we got so many people filling up the box.
Yeah, so come by
with their guesses.
That is how you can win that $25 gift card. Come by and give us your best guess. We'll give another clue in hour number 2. Also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if this is the right answer, but Will Law just messaged in.
I saw that.
I don't know if this. I can't read this on the air.
It's got to be, right?
I can't. I won't read this on the air because I don't know if this is the right answer.
I don't either.
Or not, but
that's got to be
If this is the right answer, it's found inside and outside of the store. Sometimes you find them in the bushes.
Okay,
sometimes
Will Law sent that text. Listen, I feel
is that
dumb.
the right answer?
I don't know. I haven't looked because I want to play along too.
Okay,
so
you refuse to look.
I'll look if you want me to.
Yeah, well, it's up to you. I don't want to make you do anything you don't want to do. This is the age of consent.
Looked.
Is it the right answer?
It is not.
Oh, Will.
But you know what?
That is not the right answer.
That's a great guess.
That's a good guess based on that clue.
And I feel dumb for not guessing that in the first place.
Let's see here. Texter says, I like teriyaki and buffalo mixed on my wings with blue cheese. I never like buffalo sauce.
Or blue cheese.
I don't like it.
What idiots, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. What idiots eats blue cheese instead of ranch?
And you're eating intentionally bad cheese?
Oh,
make it make sense.
Stuff will make you sick. Speaking of the devil, look who it is.
He is.
Just walk
heard
the
our
door.
Names. He teleported up here.
Hey, a quick tease. For the Tolos listening, I just posted this like 2 minutes ago on our Facebook page at the Fan Upstate. 420. The segment that we're doing at 420 is you and I, Diesel, asking the audience the most embarrassing moment of your entire life. If you can share it on the air. The reason this segment was in my brain, the reason I was thinking about this was because, was it yesterday or the day before, Tolo JD sent a long, 8-paragraph text about something embarrassing happened. And listen, I have not asked JD yet this, but if he's listening, JD, if you're listening, I would love to hear that story on air. Diesel kind of told me what you said during the break, but I think it's a fantastic, embarrassing story. I don't know if that's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you, JD, but it's a fantastic story. It really is.
I'm trying to think. I could out my former roommate who might have the most embarrassing personal story I've ever heard.
Is that right?
It's a rough one. It's a really rough one. I won't give his name on the air. I don't know if he listens to the show. I know he listens to other stations that I'm on, but I don't know if he listens to this station. All right, I'm going to share the story. It's not my story. I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to hold it and wait, and I'm going to think of my own. Yeah,
you can share somebody else's story if you're listening. And let's say they're, dead or something like that, or not listening. You can share their story.
JD said, call me an idiot one more time, and I'll be teleporting up there too.
So, JD, glad you're listening.
Is it because of your story, JD, or is it because you like blue cheese?
Blue cheese, I think, is what.
Oh, okay.
I think that was his blue cheese text. JD, at 420, make sure you're calling and telling that story, because that story I think it's fascinating. I want to hear it. All right, coming up next, I asked the question, Diesel. Yesterday we had Jake Mastriani on to talk about the wonderful, exciting, high-powered Atlanta Braves, right? And I asked the question, a little bit of pushback, and he pushed back on me, which I love. We asked Jake if the Braves were giving us all an excuse of, oh, we can't adapt to this new wave of baseball. And he said, Cole, look, here's the deal. I'm not going to tell you right now what he said, but I'll tell you on the other side. I asked the question, are we buying what Jake said about the Braves' lack of offense being due to them not adjusting to the new wave of baseball? You let us know, 71307, or what you think the reason is the Braves are in this slump that they're in. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate.
Date.
All right, yesterday, Jake Mastriani, he came on this program to try to pump life, hope, a little bit of good vibes.
Did he?
Well,
Did he? I
tried.
mean, that's
He
that's why we brought him on.
Yeah.
But that's not exactly what he did.
Yeah.
He's like, man, this is a tough team to watch right now. They're
Well,
not fun to turn on and watch.
You know what? When a team is playing as bad as the Braves are,
especially when you got to pay extra to watch these Braves, when you cut the cord.
I'm not paying to watch this team. Here's a quick stat about the Atlanta Braves. The 2024 Atlanta Braves, the first 24 games, okay, they were 18-6. They scored 5.95 runs per game. They came out guns a-blazing this year. The last 40 games, they have gone 17-23 and scored 3 runs per game. They are 3-6 in June and have been outscored in June 47-34. The last 6 games, they are 1-5, where they have scored 2.3 runs per game and are now 10 games, Diesel, out of first place.
You remember when we thought that disastrous West Coast trip was just a blip?
Yeah, I do remember that.
It's okay. It was, you know what? It was a long travel. They were away from home. Who knows? Maybe the team ate some bad sushi on the flight. Don't know. But, hey, they came home. They figured it out. They won 4 out of 5 at home after that or something like that. And we thought, crisis averted. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I think we might have jinxed the team.
Well, they may have just decided, hey, we're good enough. We don't really have to put the effort in because we're beating all these teams. We're beating the brakes off of them. But my question is, do you buy as a Braves fan, Matt Kraft's already chimed in on the stream, do you buy that the Atlanta Braves offense is just not catching up to what the league is doing in terms of evolving right now in this new wave of baseball with the offense being down? And Jake's right. He did push back on my pushback. He said, well, look, offense is down league-wide. It's right now, it's at 729 through 729 OPS through April and May of 2024. The league has a collective 697 OPS. Runs are down in 2024. Home runs are down. Batting average is down. OBP is down. On base plus slugging. So there are a lot of offensive categories that are down right now compared to last year.
Yeah, but the Atlanta Braves are down bad more than everybody else.
They are. That's correct.
That's the problem. While Jake may be right about that, and there's a question as why. I mean, I don't recall them saying anything about changing the baseballs or about changing the bats this offseason. I don't remember anything like that. So why are the Atlanta Braves suffering from this downtrend more than everyone else?
Well, here's a few numbers. Batting average last year at this time, 245. Right now, 240. OBP, 320 last year, 315 now. Slugging, 402 last year at this time, 383 now. OPS, 722 last year, 698 now. So the reality of it is there's a league-wide drop. 24 points of OPS is a significant drop. League-wide OPS, Diesel, has not been below 700 since 1989. So it appears
time to juice the baseballs.
Well, it appears that the efforts of MLB to increase batting average through the elimination of the shift is not working either. You know, they got rid of the shift to fix that, and that's not working. A 240 batting average is not only 5 points lower than last year, it would be the lowest since 1968 when it was 237.
Look, I am generally in favor of eliminating the shift. I don't like that you can study someone's tendencies and completely change your formation to take certain players out of the game. But it's incredible that it has not created the intended consequence, which is putting more balls up the gap, right?
Yeah.
It's fascinating that we're not seeing that happen. Look, I mean, this Atlanta Braves team, they're a House of Pain song, man. Pack it up, pack it in. They're done. I don't know what to say about them.
Do you attribute it to errors? Or, I mean, like, for example, the league's effort to increase base hits on balls, Diesel, and play through the elimination of the shift has not worked. A side note of interest is that 6.9% of runs scored were unearned in 2023. That percentage has jumped from 6.9 to 10.3 this year in 2024. the increase in runs as well as the decrease in batting average could also be partly attributed to more errors, because when an error is charged to a fielder, the batter is charged with an out. So there's a lot of factors, but the reality of it is something's causing it, whether, I don't think it's the way the guys are playing the game. I don't think that's the case. And Jake talked about it yesterday. It's just strange because no one can really put a finger on it.
JD says, dude, I was good with the Braves struggling a bit early, but it was not supposed to continue this long. I'm not worried yet, but it won't be long. I do wonder, Cole, like every team is different, right?
Yeah.
I do wonder if this Atlanta Braves team will get to a point where their backs are against the wall and they will then thrive on that pressure. Obviously, that's what all Atlanta Braves fans are hoping for, right? They hit that point where they're 12, 13, 14, 15 games back from first place and say, oh, we got to turn this on. I mean, it's not something they don't already know. And you can't really explain why an entire team suddenly stops hitting. You just really can't. And you, especially when you're a team that is built to win with home runs. You're not built to win by stealing a lot of bases, putting yourself in position to score. Obviously, it hurts when you lose Acuna, and he was so great at stealing bases last year. But you can't really explain why nobody's hitting. And I have full faith at some point in this season, Cole, things will turn back around, and this team will just all of a sudden flip a switch and turn it on. And all of a sudden, it's going to be that great, exciting team to talk about again. I just wonder, will it be in time, right? Will it be too late?
Well, you're 10 games back right now on June 12th. If it continues, let's say 1 month. Let's add a month. It's July the 12th, right? 1 month from today. And let's call Diesel, let's call the Braves about the same. So let's say they're 10, 11 games back this time in July. Okay, well, then you have August and September to fix that. Can you make up 10 games back in 2 months? Yeah. Is it tough? Sure. We saw the Braves do it 2 or 3 years ago. I'm getting my years confused, but the Braves were back, 8 or 9 games and made a run and won the division. The Mets collapsed. It's been done before, but nobody wants to you don't want to put yourself in that situation. You have to make up ground now through June, through July, toward the All-Star break, because it's not going to be fun if you don't.
Yeah, I asked Jake the question yesterday. He shot me down on this one, but after the way they lost to the Orioles last night, I asked, hey, after this next 9-game stretch, are they going to be staring down being a 500 baseball team? And he said, I don't think they will be. Unfortunately, Cole, it looks like they might. I mean, with the way they got beat by the Orioles last night, still not hitting, it's very, very possible. When we come back, we bring on Wes Mitchell of Gamecock Central to talk. Paul Mainieri, the new baseball coach at South Carolina. He's the expert. He's boots on the ground, learning about this thing each and every day. Excited for the chance to pick his brain. And you Gamecock fans, you Gamecock Tolos, send us your questions as well. We'll talk to Wes next on the Fan Upstate.
You're listening to the Underground. fields to the courts and the gridiron to the tracks.
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan Upstate.
Emanating live from the Corner Cafe at Ingalls Markets, 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs. Want to see you out here. Your chance to win a $25 Ingalls gift card if you know what product Cole teased earlier. If you don't know, wait another 20 minutes. He's going to give you the second clue and your chance, again, to win a $25 Ingalls gift card. Right now we go to the phone lines, bring in our guest, Wes Mitchell of Gamecock Central. Joins us on the show. Wes, a lot of exciting news down in Columbia. 3 new coaches in one day. Generally speaking, can you grade each one on a scale of 1 to 10 for us?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll be honest. I'll avoid the men's golf one just because I can't say I cover or follow much men's golf. So we'll put that with not applicable. Is that what NA means?
That's
we'll
right.
put that. But I think you got to give both of the other ones high grades. I mean, you look at Ashley Chastain, and I don't know how many people really have followed her career in softball, but I've kind of dove into it after you found out that she was probably going to be the hire. And, she's a Gamecock through and through. She played at South Carolina, but you look at what she did at Charlotte, and she would have been a candidate even if she didn't play at Carolina. Took them to their first ever NCAA at-large berth 2 seasons ago, followed that up by going back to the tournament this past season, their first ever regular season conference championship in 2023, tied for the championship this year. Really just did things that had never been done before at Charlotte, has SEC experience on the field, SEC experience as an assistant coach at Ole Miss, and just, top to bottom, makes complete sense to kind of revive that program, you would say. And then with Mainieri, I'll tell y'all why I think you have to give it an A. I think if you just hired Mainieri, then, maybe it's a B hire, but then I think it's A+ when you add in the fact that you were able to get 2 just highly decorated assistants with him. Monty Lee, look at the fact that he's now the highest paid assistant coach in baseball. That tells me how much they wanted to keep him and sort of kind of keep things going with the recruiting and the ties he has there. And then Terry Rooney, who clearly is kind of Mainieri's right-hand man that's coming in, that understands him, understand what he wants. He's a former head coach as well. And I think the staff that is around Mainieri, in addition to his resume, is what you really like about that hire.
Wes, it is an interesting hire, and I don't know that a lot of people had that in the cards. Was that something that you think Ray Tanner has had up his sleeve for a while now and just was waiting on the right chance?
That's a good question, and honestly, I've seen some different reporting out there, Cole. It kind of depends on who you ask about when these conversations actually started. I'll tell you, as we know, there were all those names that were floating around, and those names definitely were in the mix. And I don't know at what point Paul Mainieri's name also came into the mix. Now, obviously, his was the one that was kept more quiet than any of them. And so part of that is, he doesn't have an employer right now. He's not currently with another program. There were no real reason for rumors to get out about him possibly looking around. So he has a very, very long-standing relationship with Ray Tanner. It would have been very easy for Ray to just deal with him directly as opposed to dealing with an agent. I don't know if that's exactly the case. That's just my assumption, because I get the feeling that it was kept in a very, very small circle that those 2 guys were talking. And, Mainieri has toyed with getting back into the game. He was kind of in the mix with Miami. I think he was in the mix with the Notre Dame opening. But you just get the feeling that both sides felt like this was the right time. And also, I think you get the feeling that as Ray Tanner was going through the process with maybe some of these other coaches that were mentioned, that maybe there were just a few too many cons on those lists when compared to the pros. Maybe too many questions among some of these other coaches that were thrown around as being potential candidates.
Find him on Twitter at Wes Mitchell GC. Wes Mitchell of Gamecock Central joins us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. What do you think it was specifically that kept Monty Lee in Columbia? Is it just a money thing? I mean, a raise is always nice. It's nice maybe not having to be the number one guy, especially if you're making really great money. Or do you think maybe there was something a little bit more there, possibly like a coach in waiting scenario or special consideration the next time around?
Yeah, I haven't heard a single thing about coach in waiting or, you know, special considerations. But I think if you're Monty Lee, you know, you're smart. Like, you understand that there was going to be – and I think Monty Lee very easily in a different world could have been the hire this time around. But, of course, there's going to be some pushback to the fact that it didn't work out for him at Clemson. And now if you hired him, that would be something that would be used against you, obviously, by the fans, maybe even in recruiting as well. So if you're Monty Lee, the chance to be the coach under Paul Mainieri, this is the place. I know it's a cliche when coaches say it, but I think Monty Lee truly does love being at South Carolina. He's from Lugoff, so that's a quick ride down the interstate from what is truly home for him. And you obviously, nobody's going to sort of everybody would love to be the highest paid coach in their field, and that's what Monty Lee is right now. He reportedly is the highest paid assistant coach in college baseball. So that, I think, certainly makes you feel like you were wanted, makes you feel like you're a big part of the plan. But certainly, I think if this thing works out and, you know, and Paul Mainieri leads this program to where South Carolina hopes it does and then hangs it up in the future, if Monty Lee's sitting right there, then it's probably a much easier transition to being the guy coming off of a strong run with a second run as an assistant, as opposed to it would have been to sell the hire this time around, I think. So I don't think anybody's getting that far ahead, but certainly if you start kind of trying to – it's hard to think in athletics these days even a year ahead from now, but there is a world where I think it works out, and Monty Lee is very strongly in the mix in the future.
Hey, Wes, what do you think attracted Paul Mainieri to South Carolina?
Yeah, I think for one, it's a chance to get back into the SEC. And I think once you've coached in the SEC and once you've had the resources that you get and the passion and the the fandom that you get, I think it would have been hard for him to go to somewhere that those things took a step back. So I imagine that was important. We're going to hear from him directly tomorrow with his press conference. So I'll be fascinated to see what his reasons are. But also, I would say the comfort level with Ray Tanner, I imagine, is going to be something that gets mentioned, just kind of reading between the lines on some things I've heard. I think there was a real comfort level that obviously Ray Tanner understands baseball. He understands the ups and downs of that game. And, it is we've seen Ray Tanner have to make some difficult decisions to fire coaches. We just saw that across multiple sports, but he is somebody who understands everything that goes into coaching and what those things look like. And I think that gives you some comfort level if you're coming in as a coach. And you sort of get the impression Mainieri was looking for somewhere that fit for kind of what obviously will be the last little stretch of his career. And, there have been some battles between LSU and South Carolina on the diamond over the years. And my guess is it just made sense. And obviously right now there aren't other SEC openings out there. So I imagine that he's going to talk tomorrow to just all the little things about this, including Ray Tanner, that just kind of made it fit for him.
Wes Mitchell of Gamecock Central joining us here on the Fan Upstate. Wes, I follow a few different LSU Twitter accounts, and some of the big criticisms of Paul Mainieri that they had was that he won't travel to meet recruits. He likely won't be super excited about coaching in the transfer portal era. He's never done that. Obviously, he retired before that really kicked up and became a thing. So do you see Paul Mainieri as being a CEO type and letting Terry Rooney and Monty Lee run the recruiting side for him, or do you see him jumping into that with both feet?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be fascinating to see how that looks. Now, from a big picture standpoint, again, I'm interested to hear what he has to say tomorrow, but my assumption would be that part of the reason you're spending all this money and that you've gone out of your way to go out and to bring in Rooney and to keep Monty Lee is that those guys are going to be heavily involved and are frankly going to have the task and kind of the responsibility of going out and building this roster. I would akin it a little bit. We've talked about here on Gamecock Central when Steve Spurrier really had it rolling in football. He was not very hands-on in recruiting. He's not the guy that's going out and DMing and texting prospects all day, every day. He's going to be more of the closer. He's going to be kind of, I'm going to be around when you come in and you're around the program. But for the most part, the recruiting elements, the getting the board together, the transfer portal stuff, I would imagine, again, I'm not trying to speak out of turn. I don't know exactly yet, but just putting together the pieces, you would expect that a ton of that is going to be on Monty Lee and on Rooney, and then that it's going to be on Mainieri to kind of maybe make the final call on guys, like maybe be a tiebreaker or sort of add a little bit of kind of the evaluation piece there. And then certainly the real thing you want is when you have prospects on your campus and they do meet your head coach, for him to be engaged and involved and to make them feel, a part of the program. So I tell you one thing I have pushed back on with fans, though, that I've seen this idea of, he doesn't know how to use the transfer portal because he's been around, he's been out of the game for 3 years. I don't really agree with that assumption at all because I don't even really know what that means. Like you either recruit guys or you don't. And he very clearly will have been informed by his new staff and by Ray Tanner that, hey, if you're going to build this roster and win quick, which, guys, I don't think you hire a 66-year-old if you're not planning to try to win quick. It's going to have to involve the transfer portal. So, to me, that goes back to those two assistants.
Wes Mitchell, Gamecock Central. Wes, Landon Powell obviously didn't get a job on staff. I do know he was in conversation last week with Ray Tanner, but in your opinion, does Landon Powell have to go coach a Citadel or an ECU, somewhere smaller, or be an assistant in the SEC before he can get a crack at head coach of an SEC program?
Yeah, it would certainly help, right? Like I think, who knows where things are if you fast forward 5, 6, 7 years from now. Does Powell build an absolute dynasty at North Greenville and just keep it rolling? And does he make it just to where even at North Greenville he can't be denied? I think that's always a possibility, but certainly would it help? Would it be one more sort of just massive addition to the resume to go do it somewhere else? Or, a lot of times we see with these coaches, there's kind of two paths. It's like you're talking about doing it at a bigger level than North Greenville, but a smaller school than obviously SEC or ACC, and doing it well as a head coach, or just being kind of that top assistant at the SEC level. We've seen, actually, you look right down the road at Georgia, we've seen programs go the route of top SEC assistant and elevate guys to the head job, and it work out in his conference. So it really felt like, at least this time around, that head coaching experience was important. And there was a couple of assistant coach names that were just thrown out there. It never seemed like those were too serious on South Carolina's end. And it seemed like, some power, I guess we call it power four experience. You look at all the candidates, like all the ones that are being mentioned have coached and built programs at the Power 4 level. So, Landon Powell obviously has done great things. There's a lot of people here in Columbia that would love to see an actual Gamecock in that spot. But I think when the opportunity to go get somebody who has won as much as Mainieri had, and just frankly has coached as long and as often as he has, that was going to be hard for Powell in a head-to-head resume standpoint to kind of hold up, even with his Gamecock ties.
Wes Mitchell, Gamecock Central. Wes, we know that you're an in-demand guy. You got another radio hit to jump on right after you hang up with us. So
He's all over the place, man.
We appreciate the 15 minutes that you spent with us. I know we could spend another 20, 30 minutes talking about this. Really appreciate your time this afternoon, pal.
Thanks, man.
All right, boys. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one, okay?
You
too,
as
man.
well. Find him on Twitter at Wes Mitchell GC. Man, I really wanted to ask him. I know we kind of ran out of time there. Any word on the prospects who really wanted Monty Lee as the head coach? You have to imagine keeping those guys, keeping Wes on, keeping Monty on staff would keep most of those guys happy enough that they would still sign on the dotted line and play at South Carolina. But some of them, you know, who knows? Who knows? Like, if we're saying these kids are making decisions based on the uniform combos that a team has, why wouldn't the guy that they wanted to be the head coach not being the head coach not be a possible deciding factor for a couple of those recruits? But the point is, Monty Lee is still on staff.
He is.
The
and
guy
that
that's
helps.
recruiting them, the guy that these guys like, is still on staff. So I would be shocked if more than one of them said, you know what, if he's not the head coach, I'm out.
You know what I liked? One of Wes's answers, and I think it was, I can't remember what the question was and who even asked it, but I liked what Wes said about a guy like Monty taking the job after success compared to him taking it now when there's been no success. Like, that's a point that we didn't talk about. It's a very good point, and that's why Wes is the best. But Diesel, like, it's true. Like, Ray Tanner would have to sell Monty Lee right now. 3 years, 5 years, 6, 7 years from now, if they come off of a national championship, he's already on the staff. There's a lot less selling, right?
You're right. I mean, it makes it an easy hire at that point, and some of the fears that a lot of Gamecock fans have, the trepidation that they have of him being a former Clemson head coach, those things wash away because now he's been on your staff for a number of years. He's been, you're right. He didn't have that success under Kingston. He's got it on the recruiting trail, but not so much on the wins and losses column. But if you can sort of wash that Mark Kingston stink off you a little bit, and you're around 5 years from now, I think you put yourself in a very good position to be that next guy.
It's a fascinating point. And
is.
Listen, I'm not one that's going to sit here and say, I don't think Paul Mainieri is going to work out. Was it the hire that I expected, that we all expected? No. But he does have experience. It's like I said yesterday, there are a lot of examples of sports. There are a lot of examples of programs, Diesel, where the head guy's the CEO and the guys around him are what makes him successful.
Do you think it's possible, Cole, that you were getting a little emotional about Landon Powell because he was your guy, because he's North Greenville's guy? Maybe living a little bit vicariously. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want him to leave because he's winning an awful lot of baseball games for you up there in Tigerville.
Sure.
But you also get to say, hey, there's our coach who won a ton of games for us, going off and making good of himself. I mean, it's how I felt when Scott Satterfield left App State. Didn't want to see him go because he was winning a lot of football games, but he went off to get himself a Power 5 job and make a lot of money. So it didn't work out so much for him in Louisville.
No, it did not. It is a double-edged sword, right? Because I do want him to be a guy that gets the job at South Carolina or anywhere else, because, like, obviously I like him and have gone there and have seen what he did. But at the same time, like, yes, I'll admit to you, Diesel, that a lot of it is my emotional connection to him and who I think he is and who I know he is. But the other side of that is, because I know who he is and because I've seen him do what he's done, I know what kind of traits that he has.
You believe.
And absolutely, I think that it could be replicated. You know, I've talked to so many people, and some say, he hadn't coached SEC ball. And we've had that argument on here and talked about it. But I just know who he is. I know what the DNA of somebody is super important. Sure. And I know the DNA that guy has. And if I'm an SEC program, I wouldn't hesitate to call him. Yeah, is there an emotional connection for me? For sure, right? 100%. And there probably is for Ray Tanner as well, because he's a Gamecock. So maybe Ray made the right decision and didn't make an emotional hire. I'm not saying that's true or untrue, but you do have an emotional connection when you've seen what they've done for other programs.
I understand it.
It just happens. All right, in the very next segment, Diesel, we're going to take a break, come back. I asked the question to you. I'm going to try to think of my best one. I've got to think of a really good one. I don't want to share something that's not powerful and strong and embarrassing, but I also asked the audience, Tolos, the most embarrassing moment of your life that you can share on the radio. What is it? And how does it rack up to a story that Diesel has about somebody else, was a college roommate. Is that what you said? Or
No,
friend?
this is my last roommate.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
A former roommate of Diesel's. We'll see when the segment's over. We'll decide whose was the most embarrassing. 71307. Start your text with the word fan. If you want to call in and share yours, I have already seen a couple of Tolos say they're going to call. You can do so. It's the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone, 844 fan phone. We'll do that on the other side. This is Wire to Wire.
Fan. This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan.
Upstate.
Hey, quick programming note. Diesel, tomorrow, obviously we're going to have Chris Phillips on because he'll be in Omaha. But before that, at 4 o'clock, we got an email that the introductory press conference of Paul Mainieri will be happening at 4 o'clock. I did ask Kent over in the baseball operations if it would be live streamed, and he said yes. So we should be able to have that for you on air.
Get a little audio,
Get a little audio from the new baseball coach, the new skipper of the baseball Gamecocks. So that'll be interesting to hear him from the very first time. So tune in tomorrow, Tolo, as you do each and every day. So I asked the question, 71307, start your text with the word fan. Maybe some people, and I'm going to get to the clue in a minute, some people, Diesel, may not want to share because it might be embarrassing, but the most embarrassing moment of your life,
or incriminating.
That's true, too. I think that the lady from the Golf Channel could probably win for this past week's most embarrassing moment, right?
That's rough. Yeah,
that's an all-timer.
That's rough.
I don't know that one will ever be topped, but I want to start it off with your story of your former roommate who, let's see, he may set the bar pretty high and may not be beat, but we'll see. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you the story, and you'll judge as to any of the callers, texters, anything that comes after this, if it tops the story. Okay, so my former roommate was he had a lot of female attention, right? Okay. And he was also a bit of a degenerate, a bit of a savage, you could say. And he used to, at least on one occasion, recorded himself doing his thing, right, with a lady. Well, he also worked at a cell phone business, and he was constantly having to test out new cell phones. So he would have like sound card, like memory cards that he would pass from phone to phone to phone to phone, and he would have multiple phones at any given time because he had to know how to use the phone for customer service, right? So one time, Cole, he had put the memory card upon which he had recorded video of himself with a lady in his car, connected to his stereo. And he had his entire media library on shuffle. It played who knows what songs came on, Tupac, Hinder, and then this video of him doing his thing. The problem, Cole, is he was at the gas station and his mom was in the passenger seat.
Oh,
and so he was outside of the vehicle for an extended period of time, pumping gas while his mom was listening to him pump something else.
Wow, that's bad.
Yeesh.
That is bad. Listen, I don't mean to shut the segment down, but we may just shut it down. Like that, I don't know that that's going to be topped. I really do not know that that'll ever be topped. That is rough. Yeah. I cannot. How do you come back from that? Like, how do you escape from that? That's just
like, Mom, I'm trying to make you a grandbaby.
Wow, that's tough. All right, to the phones we go. Renewal by Anderson, the Carolinas fan phone, 844-FAN phone. JD, do you have a story that can top that one?
I don't know if I can top any of you guys' stories, man. Y'all bring the heat around here. But no, I did have a very embarrassing. Oh, sorry, hold on, my radio turned up too loud. Sorry.
Rookie.
I did have a very, very embarrassing day yesterday. So, as you guys know, I got this little side hustle now that I get to do, a little podcast. So I'm trying to grow followers, and, get into Gamecock Twitter and stuff. And there was this one particular girl who she posted about having terrible first dates. And every time she dates somebody, she has, they have a lack of personality. And so this chick asked for lunch suggestions yesterday. And so I gave her a couple of lunch suggestions, and I was like, hey, if you like any of my recommendations, maybe, you'll owe me a date for that. And, bro, when I say that the people came after me on Twitter, they literally looked up my wife. They looked up her Facebook profile. They sent me screenshots of this. They sent me screenshots of my family. They dug up old tweets. And I was just like, listen, hey, I literally said in the tweet that I'm joking and I'm married. I have no interest in trying to get on Twitter and date any random person that I find. And so all of this happened, and then the most embarrassing part of it all happened. I go home last night, and I killed the internet for my whole entire neighborhood. I ran over one of the little posts in the neighborhood, and so there's no Spectrum cable, no Spectrum internet to anybody in my neighborhood. So I had a very embarrassing day. I had people coming after my family. I had people telling me that I'm trying to date some random person on Twitter. And yes.
Hey, JD, that's one way to keep your wife from finding out is kill the internet.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right. Well, hey, that precisely, Diesel. That's actually, well, when they threatened to tell my wife, obviously I went ahead and told her anyway. But
Smart man.
I literally was just like, hey, if you like any of these recommendations, hey, maybe you shouldn't complain about having bad dates all the time, and you won't have people joking about taking you out on a date.
So do you regret?
She was just thirsty. You were just trying to tell her where to get a drink of water. You weren't trying to give her a drink of water. You're just telling her where to get one.
Do you regret that, JD, or no?
Hey, oh, absolutely, I regret it. And so, yeah, I mean, I told somebody last night, I'm like, I'm never commenting on another female's post ever again, ever. And then on top of that, I even had to tweet the guys back. And I was like, hey, guys, can y'all give me a little bit of credit for my intelligence? Like, do you not think that I would be smart enough to be a little more discreet about it? Like,
is this your first time on the internet, JD?
With people, hey, no, it's my first time being a celebrity on the internet, thanks to our new Sports Nuts podcast, my friend.
Celebrity.
Y'all have a good one. Thanks
Appreciate
for my call. I didn't thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So that's a pretty good one. That is, I don't think it tops the story that you told, Diesel, but it's a pretty good one. I will say mine involved law enforcement. I was at a red light one time, and so I believe that I was in the right? Most people do. Nobody believes they're wrong now. So, like, I was at a red light, and this was years ago, so I don't exactly remember what happened, but you know how, like, when a light turns red, some people will just gas it and try to just go ahead and turn, and then you get the green light, so you're having to wait on them for running late, right? The guy was in a dark-colored black SUV, and my light turned green, so I go to turn left. Well, guess what he's doing? He's gassing it when he sees red to try to make it. Well, what do? I just slam on the horn. I mean, just obnoxiously honk, right, for like 6 seconds straight because he came out of his lane after running the red light. Well, guess what that driver proceeded to do? He proceeded to turn his lights on and pull me over. And the person that I honked at was an undercover cop. He pulls me over, and guess what he did? He said, look, you little, you know what? You don't honk at a cop.
I was supposed to know you're a cop.
I didn't know you were a cop, Scotty Scheffler. I didn't know. I had no idea. So I got pulled over for honking at a cop. It was embarrassing. It was very, very embarrassing.
Hey, it's 2024 now, Cole. They all got to put their blue lights on in the state of South Carolina. They have to identify the fact that they are police, not undercover cops at least, but in marked vehicles, they got to tell you who they are. So, I love that law, by the way.
Backstory.
Yeah.
Guess what he did? He got in trouble because when you turn your sirens on, you're supposed to report it or document it every time. Did you know that? A cop, every time they turn their sirens on, they have to document it. Well, he didn't document it, so he got in trouble. Good on him, right?
Yeah, we got a texter here that says, most embarrassing story for me, and this is a long one, so we may have to piece this together. Most embarrassing story for me, I was a camera operator at Wofford for volleyball, and I was running handheld on the floor. I had a rolling stool. Okay. This is the key to the story. So one of the girls spiked the ball, and it came right at me. I tried for some reason to catch the ball, and in the process, my stool came out from under me, and I fell flat on my back. Cole, I learned how to run camera from Dr. Stevens at NGU, so I blame him. That comes from Jacob in Spartanburg.
I know Jacob.
You do know
yes,
Jacob.
I do know Jacob. That is a funny story. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
That is pretty embarrassing. I like that. Good story. But you know what? Like, stuff like that happens all the time with camera operators.
It does. It does. You got a lot of balls flying at you. Anything could happen, right?
Brandon on the text line says, mine was I ran a red light because I saw the cars from the other lane go. That is the end of the text. Brandon, that's all the text? Like, that's you ran a red light and that's the most embarrassing moment. Well, I would be embarrassed every day, right? I mean, come on. I mean, that's the worst crime you've ever committed.
Cole, we are live here inside the Corner Cafe at Ingalls Markets, 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs. Even though you say it's not really in Boiling Springs, it's
Ish.
Ish. See, that's a confusing thing about the upstate, man. We need to simplify. Is it its own town, though, or is it just known as this
Dewey's
area?
on hold.
It is, like I said, man, like everybody, I grew up here, so like everybody calls this area Springfield. You know how like some little spots of towns just have little areas?
But it's not a town.
No.
It's part of Boiling Springs.
Yeah, and is the address is Boiling Springs?
It's Boiling Springs, yeah.
What's crazy, though, like you can be, you know, at USC Upstate in Walford in less than 10 minutes, and you go that way. You can be Dorman. You go that way. You can be at it's a cluster.
Speaking of being here in Ingalls Markets, we have a second clue for your chance to win a $25 Ingalls gift card.
All right. I gave you the first clue. And by the way, Will Law, your second guess was wrong again. Good guesses, though.
Ooh.
First clue was this item comes in 2 sizes and can be found in several different places in and out of the store. Clue number 2, this item keeps the party going and in some cases safe. That's an intriguing clue. Wow. That's a good one. That's a good clue.
Cole, before we send this thing off to break, let's go. If you're brave enough, let's go for our daily dose of Dewey. Dewey is on hold. What do you got for us, pal?
Yes, I got an embarrassing story. I peed and pooped in my pants today, and it went all over the place and down my leg. And
Dewey.
people looked at me.
Okay.
Thanks for the call, Dewey.
Thanks
Real
for the call, Dewey.
Fat Pate says, after my first year of high school wrestling at the winter banquet, I was going to receive my letter, and my mother stands up in front of 300 people and goes, woohoo, mama loves you. I still hear about it 16 years later. That's a good one. Let's see.
Ooh.
Brandon says, to continue, there was a cop beside me. Him and I both ran the red light together. Next light we got to, we both rolled our windows down and had a good laugh. That is a good ending to the story.
Yep.
316 says, when I got locked out of the hotel room with just boxers and no shirt, says, gee, that's funny.
Yep.
704, mine would be when I worked in radio in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was covering Panthers training camp with one of our personalities, and I'm trying to find the rest of the text. I was a camper walking into the training facility. Steve Smith runs up behind me, sees I have my hands full there, and says, hey, Sam, let me get that door for you. From his voice, I didn't know who it was when I turned around and thought it was out of the sound. And I turned around and thought it was out the sound, but I'm not sure. Closest thing I can do to a 17-year-old girl at a tailor. Am I reading the same text? I'm sorry. This has gotten sideways. What am I saying?
It's a run-on sentence.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a run-on sentence.
He says, basically, this texter is saying,
fangirl?
basically, this texter is saying he didn't let Steve Smith open the door for him.
Okay.
Mistake. Sorry for my my lack of reading run-on sentences.
Cole, I think most personally embarrassing moment for me is in college. My mom came up to visit me one day. I hadn't seen her in, hometown's like 45 minutes away. So it's not like it's that hard to get there or for them to come up. My mom came up to see me one morning. I was hammered drunk from the night before. I had to leave her at the restaurant where we were having lunch to drive home and spew my guts out. Drove back to the restaurant to finish lunch. She had already finished.
Jeez.
She had already paid. She just said, let's go back to your apartment. I'm gonna go home. And I felt like such a bad son. I felt like such a bad son. She will occasionally bring that up just to remind me of like, hey, be careful when you're drinking. You don't know the next day I'm going to show up.
That's funny. That's a good one.
That was a rough one. Hey, Cole, one of the things we love most in sports is when you start to see dominance year over year over year. What's that called? It's called a dynasty. My question for you, Cole, and for the Tolos as well, at what point are you tired of the dynasty? At what point do you say, enough? I want to see this dynasty end. That's coming up next here on the Fan Upstate.
For a fan phone, this is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Cole, I know that you are a diehard NBA fan.
Yeah.
So you probably already know this, but there are some Tolos out there who might not. I didn't know this. I knew that this was a dominant franchise, but I didn't realize, Cole, that in the 1950s and 60s, the Boston Celtics won 11 titles in 13 years. The absurdity
That's ridiculous.
of that number.
How old were you
I don't
in
think we'll ever.
1950?
I think I was 30 already by then. But that is the clear and undeniable definition. It meets the criteria, Cole, of a dynasty.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know that there's anything else besides maybe John Wooden at UCLA that even comes close to rivaling that, Cole. But when you think about dynasties across sports, of course, you think about the Celtics, you think about the 80s Lakers, you think about the Miami Hurricanes in the 90s, Florida State in the 90s, you think about Brady's Patriots, the 90s Bulls, the current Chiefs, maybe on their way to a real dyed-in-the-wool dynasty, the Warriors, 2010s Alabama football. I've argued, Cole, that Clemson was not a football dynasty because they only won 2 titles, and they hadn't won another one since. I think the dynasty, I think it was teetering. It was right there on the edge, almost a dynasty, as close as you can get to a dynasty without actually being a dynasty. But, Cole, I'm going to argue that Clemson was not. And Evan here, our promotions rep, who is a Clemson grad, he is standing over me. He's a big guy. I'm a little scared for my safety now after saying that with him standing here next to me. Did you know, Cole, that Oklahoma softball has won 4 straight national championships? There is a recruiting class there who has won a national title every single year.
Correct.
That they have been at Oklahoma. But I asked the question to you, Cole, and I asked the question to our Tolos who are texting in at 71307 and commenting on the Facebook stream, the YouTube stream, or the Twitter stream. How much is too much? At what point, not if you're involved in the rivalry. I'm saying if you're a civilian, you're not a fan of any of these teams who are in the rivalry. At what point does watching a team build into a series of dominance get tiresome? It gets old. It makes you say, that's enough. I now hate them. I want to see them lose.
I say 3 to 4 years. That's kind of my sweet spot. Like, I didn't mind Golden State in their first run without KD because it was intriguing, right? It was electric. It
was organic, too.
Yeah, it was organic. Steph Curry came out of nowhere from Davidson, and they win these titles. And the Durant franchise, the Durant dominance, I wasn't a fan of. But, I think, Diesel, that the answer is different for every person. But for me, I think it is somewhere between 3 and 4 years because the reality of it, we like seeing teams win, but we don't want to see them win for 5, 6, 7 years like the Celtics did. And thankfully, due to the athletes now being as talented as they are, I don't think we'll ever see a Celtics run like we saw.
We as Americans, we love to see heroes come out of nowhere, right? We love to see something build like that. We also like to see things fall, right? We also like to see things crumble. And I like the way you put that, Cole. I hadn't actually thought about it in those terms, but what you saw with the first run of the Warriors was organic, right? They did it all through the draft. They did it through, having superior talent that they picked up naturally. And then it gets to the point, Cole, once you're at that tippy top, you want to stay at the top. So what do? You rework people's contracts. If you're talking about college athletics, you have the ability to then sell, hey, we are the tippy top dogs and we can go get the best of the best, whatever position it is. We can select exactly who we want. We can buy out coaches at other successful programs and bring them into our program and make them better. We saw it with Alabama. Man, it used to drive me nuts to see former head coaches joining an Alabama staff as an unpaid intern. The off the field analyst, that drove me nuts to watch that happen. I believe it was one of the best. Terry Bowden? I think it was at Akron, who then joined the Alabama staff as an off the field unpaid analyst. And I'm like, come on.
So I think there's a good point to be said about what you just brought up with people love to see the dynasty collapse. And especially if that team's your rival, right? It's a lot easier. But I don't think anyone loves to see the dynasty start as much as they like to see the dynasty fall. Now, the people of that team, like let's say, for example, Alabama's run with Nick Saban, of course the Alabama fans love it, but the other people don't, right?
Of course.
They're beating your team.
That's what I'm saying. If you're a civilian in this, right? Like
Yeah.
you have no skin in the game. You have no dog in the fight. Let's just say you live in the state of Oregon and you're watching Alabama do what they did in the early 2010s. It's fascinating for the first couple of years.
It is.
And then eventually you're like, oh man, I'm tired of this. I don't want to see that. I want to see anybody but Bama win this thing, right? Or there was that ABC saying anybody but Clemson there for a while. I want to see anybody else win this thing. Trey says when you find out that a dynasty team cheats, it makes it easier not to like them. Trey, be a little bit more specific.
Tom Brady.
I feel like
What's he talking about, Tom?
Trey, I feel like you got a little something behind that, and we need to know what you mean.
Who else
say what you're gonna say?
Let's you and I guess. Who else would he be talking about? A dynasty cheating?
Astros.
Could be.
Could be talking about the Astros. Could be talking about, there's a lot of people who have been saying that Clemson's been funneling money to players for years through local churches.
Oh, well, who hasn't been?
Right?
Yeah, that's dumb. I don't buy that. That's stupid.
Nobody's ever come with a shred of proof about that, though.
Yeah.
But I think the answer, if you want to put a number on it, I think the answer is 4. You win 4 titles in a short period of time. Call it 10 years. Call it 8 years. Whatever you want to do. After you win 4, people are like, enough is enough. I'm tired of seeing Bama in this thing. I just want to see somebody knock them off. Because, again, you want to see that Cinderella come up, and you want to see that next Luke Skywalker come along and blow up the Death Star.
All right, very next segment. We do it every single day at 5 o'clock. It is time for the 5 o'clock fight. The one, the only Melissa Level from Ingles will join us to decide who wins and who loses. You also weigh in 71307. This is the Fan Upstate.
Wire to Wire
with Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan Upstate.
Every single day at 5 o'clock, it is our chance to fight, our chance to debate, and it's your chance to let us know who wins. If you are just tuning into this show for the first time, I'll explain how this works. Melissa Level from Ingles joins us every time we're at Ingles for the 5 o'clock fight.
Yay.
She's awesome. Before we start, though, Melissa, I've seen several people doing this today, and I want to hear you and Diesel both. If you're buying a cantaloupe or a watermelon from Ingles, how do you pick out the best one?
Well, I've
Smell it?
I've seen people slap them.
Yeah.
I've
Mhm.
seen people tap them, put them up to their ear like they can hear it say, "I'm the
Yeah.
best," right? And like they're looking at
It's not a
seashell.
seashell.
I
Yeah.
know, but that's like I've seen it. You know what? The best way to do it, I understand from the Watermelon Queen, who was here, several years ago, said that if you can feel the weightiness of it and it has a good color and there's no brown spots on it, more than likely, if it's not completely ripe yet, it'll be ripe within a couple of days.
Gotcha.
Is that an official title, Watermelon Queen?
Yes, there's an
I like
official
that.
Watermelon Queen, and she's she's selected. There's a pageant. and
Wow.
all that.
There's a watermelon crawl. Do you know that?
Yes, and you got watermelon roll too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Watermelon roll. Yeah.
All right, it is time. Brandon, hit it for the 5 o'clock fight.
It's an all-out slugfest, and nobody's leaving unscathed. 3 topics, 1 winner. It's the 5 o'clock fight on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
So every single day, you can text the show throughout the show, but during this segment, let us know who wins, who loses. You have to sign with Diesel and I. You let us know who wins by texting 71307. We're also live on the stream, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube every single day. Melissa is going to decide for herself who she's siding with for each round. It is time for round 1. Melissa, Diesel, right now we're seeing a really electric, really fun college baseball postseason. It's just exciting to see those baseball games. We all know the college football postseason is fun as well, but the question is, for Diesel and Melissa, we'll see who you side with. Diesel, do you prefer the college baseball postseason or the college football postseason?
Well, if we're talking, are we debating the 14 playoff or the upcoming
Let's do the
12
upcoming
team?
12.
Oh, man, this is a scary one. Okay, so I have always been a fan of the little guy. I've always been rooting for the smaller conference teams. And as such, Cole, I think that the college baseball postseason is the most democratic way to decide a national champion in any sport. You get multiple opportunities at the same team if you're playing in the regional level. It's just a win in advance scenario. Okay, I love how spread out the talent is in college baseball. It is by far the
And they
friendliest.
can't rig
Yes, it is by far. Thank you. It is by far the friendliest postseason to the little guys, maybe this side of March Madness. So give me college baseball postseason. I love it. Inject it right into my veins.
So I hear you. It is fascinating. I love it as well, but it's not college football. College football is king, and the way that the South just dominates college football in the playoffs, it's electric. I love
Who won the
college
national
football.
title last year?
Michigan, for the first time in how long?
Well,
for the first
Not
time in how
Florida
long?
State.
No. Michigan won it for the first time in how? I answered your question. You answered my question.
Didn't Washington make it to a college football
Did they
playoff
win the national championship?
No,
Are
they
you
didn't.
debating
But they're
that
in
the
Final
South?
Four.
Wait. Are
Well,
you
they
debating
made
that
the
the
Final
South?
Four, yeah.
I'm just saying the dominance may not be as dominant as you think it is.
Oh my goodness!
I
Look
think
at
it
history.
dominates the dollars and cents. That's what it.
The
that's
South
what it's all
dominates.
About. No, I'm just telling you. But it
That's
doesn't-
no debate.
It does not matter what we think. Okay, that's all I'm going to tell you. It matters what commercials, what companies back it, how much media money dollars they get.
Well, I'm just going to
blah,
take
blah,
my
blah.
headset off and go
Okay,
home if it doesn't matter
right.
what we think.
I mean, we're fans. We can tell you what we enjoy. Okay, and we really love it when we don't get ripped.
So,
off.
Melissa, you decide who's right and who's
So
wrong.
she's still bent. She's still sore about last year.
Sure.
I'm going to go and I'm going to say that I like both baseball and Final Four for the diplomatic way that they are chosen. Okay. I think the energy and excitement is definitely there for football because there's just more of it. You see more of it. There's more sponsors. It's a more prime time. I really personally love baseball more than anything else.
Do you
That's
think
my
you'll
good.
Do you think you'll ever get over what happened to Florida State
No,
last year?
Never.
Okay, that's a true fan. That's a true fan. I appreciate it.
Never. And I don't ever want to meet Herbie on the street.
Oh,
What would
yeah,
you
I got
do?
my beef with Herb Street too.
Yeah, and I don't know what I would do. I don't know if I would cry and scream. Maybe try to make a, just ask him how he could possibly say that we're so stupid that we don't see all 4 of the helmets behind him in 20 minutes before they don't know who's
Yeah.
going to be selected, right? Or if he honestly thought that the fact that Florida State was jid because of our relationship with Disney and our governor. I mean, I don't know which one I would have. I don't know which one I would do. But no, now that we're top 12 is going to be very similar this year. We'll see how they figure out how to rig us out of that one, but we'll see.
Oh, my
Okay.
word.
All right. But, and then, you have to live with the fact that everybody still says, well, it worked out fine because Georgia still slammed you. They played the Tallahassee high school football team.
Not to go down
You were on your 8th-string quarterback at that time.
That's
You pulled the
Right.
left fielder to come throw.
I'm going to diesel winner
Not to go on a
'Cause-
rabbit trail.
because Cole is not sympathizing with me.
I'm
sorry.
not. And I will never, and Melissa knows that, I will never agree that Florida State got wrong last year.
Why not? How
They
can you
did
possibly
deserve.
say that? They went undefeated.
You're trying to win the
Un-
next 2 rounds of this thing, Cole. You're barking up the
Undefeated.
wrong tree.
I am. You're right.
13-0, the ACC championship. Okay, that's it.
And if you get put into that playoff, you don't lose Tate Rodemaker. He
That's right.
he comes
You don't-
back. He
and-
plays in the
and you
he
don't
plays in the
lose any of
playoff.
the other people that
But
win.
the second,
okay?
string,
You don't lose a third string if that happens. I mean, we was the first, second, the second string, the third. Listen, we're not just talking the quarterback, defense, offense. Everybody, either NFL or transfer portal.
That playoff committee should be indicted for murdering Florida State's roster.
Absolutely.
I 100% think that they should have been left out. But we won't go down that right now. So you're going with
Boy,
Diesel.
you have just opened something.
I
up.
have.
You and are
I have.
gonna big talk
We'll come
about
back to it after the
right.
final round.
Okay.
You're going with Diesel round 1. You prefer college baseball. It is now time for round 2. Melissa, Diesel, tonight is game 3 of the NBA the NBA Finals. Boston has a 2-0 lead. Diesel, I want you to give your opinion on who you're going with in game 3 tonight. The Dallas Mavericks bouncing back, or are you saying that the Boston Celtics will go up 3-0?
Well, first of all, I don't know that Kyrie even made it off the plane in Boston. So are we sure that Kyrie has made it back off of the plane in Dallas? Look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The Celtics have way too much firepower across the board, even with Kristaps Porzingis out for game 3 and probably the rest of this series. Boston has way too much. They're going to smoke Dallas. I'm going to call it right now. Boston's going to sweep this series. Boston in 4. Boston in 4. I mean, I know Luka's going to have himself a fantastic game again, but he cannot carry this team by himself with Kyrie moping on the sidelines, scoring 12, 13, 14 points. I'm sorry, that ain't enough to do it to the Celtics.
Put in Caitlin Clark.
She's no good.
Hey, she can't even make the Olympic
Yeah,
team.
she's
What do they want her
terrible.
on the? What
She
do they
is
want on the
no
Mavs?
good.
Somebody would watch it.
She is no
Yes,
good.
they would.
I say that Boston has to figure out how to stop Luka's run that's going to happen at home. Luka's going to go on a run at home. He plays well. He's played well every game this series, but I do believe that with Dallas's crowd at home tonight, he's going to go on a big run, and I think Dallas goes on a big run tonight, and they do win game 3. They're way too talented for you to convince me with Kyrie and Luka that they're going to get swept, so I'll go Dallas tonight. No bias because, I don't care anything about Dallas, right?
I mean, and you're a true fan, too. I got to tell you, they are talented, okay? Boston is also talented. Whenever you're home, you have an advantage, okay? To regain that energy, okay? So I'm not going to agree with you they could do it 4-0. I still think they'll take the series, but I think tonight's an emotional game for them. They had a big loss, in the history of their game.
Backs against the wall.
And I think their backs are against the wall. I think that their home energy is going to be there. I don't think it's a given, so I'm going to go with Cole on this one.
Okay, Melissa goes
I
with
thought we had
Diesel.
something here, Melissa.
Well,
I
I
do
thought
too,
me
but
going up to FSU was gonna get
but
me
I'm
swept.
honest.
You're honest. I like that. So Melissa goes
I'm just
Diesel
going to beat
round
you
1.
up later because I can take you.
Yes, you can. Melissa does side with me round 2. Let us know what you think. 71307. Start your text with the word fan. It is time for the final round.
Tiebreaker.
Final round. Fight.
All right. Diesel showed me this video, Melissa,
Okay.
and he may have to show you too because it's kind of
Oh, yeah, am I
intriguing.
watching it?
So he will pull it up for you.
Okay.
This is a Ferrari World amusement park
Oh my gosh, how fun
And
is
it's
that?
the world's fastest roller coaster with a top speed of 149 miles per hour. So I ask you, as you're watching the video, right, you're seeing it firsthand.
I'm watching.
Yes or no that Melissa would do that? But before you give your answer,
Okay.
I ask Diesel, 150-mile-an-hour roller coaster. You say yes or no?
I've gone 150 before when I did the Richard Petty driving experience in Charlotte, but I was strapped into a vehicle. I had a professional driver at the helm of this thing. I don't know what person bolted every single one of those bolts in there. To me, roller coasters scare the living F out of me, especially the ones that get you up to 150 miles an hour. No way in hell. No way in hell. Look, I know every single one of those bolts was sold to that amusement park by the lowest bidder, right?
Yeah.
They put as cheap a bolts on that thing as they could possibly put on there. No way, no how, never going to happen.
You're making some assumptions. Okay,
So it's not smart. It's 150 miles. It's fast, but Diesel, I definitely try it. I really would.
No. I don't, you know that pit in your stomach feeling when you start to drop on a roller coaster?
Right.
I hate that feeling.
Right.
I hate it. I don't want that in my life. There's 1,000,001 feelings that are better than that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I got to hear the argument here, but I'm pretty.
So it's one of those things like you try anything one time, right? Like,
well, no, not anything.
what? Jay Wilson and Salson. No.
But I mean, I'm probably a little bit more apt to try some things. I'm a little bit more outdoorsy and adventurous, and
You gotta at least try it to say, look, I did it.
I'm just gonna say this: I went to circus school. No, absolutely no.
I'm fully
Okay.
in my masculinity and my manhood to say I'm terrified of that. Never going to do it.
And the only reason is because of the construction.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, just the Carowinds, they had a crack in it. It took somebody in the roller coaster.
Yes.
Yeah,
Do you
that's
see
true.
that thing up there?
My-
'Cause nobody even did
No, that's
it.
true.
My
Okay,
father-in-law
oh my
used
God.
to work at an amusement park in Florida. I won't say what amusement park it was. There's not that many of them. It's not that hard to figure it out.
Right.
He worked on the rides. He fixed the rides. He used to also rock a lot of guns, man.
Well, so you'd have to do to get on that thing.
Yeah, he's told me plenty of stories about just how rickety these
And a
really nice
Dramamine.
roller coasters are. No way.
You know what I'd want to do though is I want to be the one with a metal detector underneath it.
For
'Cause how
what?
many? All the change
Oh,
and rings
yeah,
and
yeah,
jewelry
wallets,
and
maybe.
everything else and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
That's true.
Just stay out of the way of the vomit.
You make a lot of money off of that.
You side with
Hose
Diesel.
it
You
off.
say no, Melissa?
I say, but no.
You wouldn't try it?
I would not try it.
No, I thought
I went
Melissa
to
was a little bit more of a
I
daredevil.
went to circus school. I'm not afraid of the speed.
Okay.
I'm not afraid of
Yeah.
I'm afraid of the construction.
What about skydiving? Would you ever try that?
Yes.
You would? Have you done it before?
No, but I've done the simulator.
Really?
Where you're in
Oh,
there.
that's
and
like
they're
fun.
really cool.
I didn't know
with the
there was a
air,
simulator.
okay. I've paraglided, so I've done that. Yeah, I would do it. I don't not a big fan of heights, but if I had to jump out, I'd rather be in the sky with a parachute than in a plane any day. Anyway,
True.
once again because I'm afraid of the construction.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right. So Melissa goes Diesel round
Diesel
1 and
wins.
3.
Yeah.
So Diesel gets the
Ding,
win
ding,
from
ding, ding,
Melissa.
ding,
Let
ding.
us know what you think. 71307. Start your text with the word fan. To recap, round 1 was college baseball postseason or college football postseason. Round 2 was Dallas, Boston tonight. Diesel said Boston wins. I say Dallas wins. The final round was this fastest roller coaster in the world that Diesel showed a video of. 150 miles an hour. Would you ride it or not? Diesel says, no way. I said, sure, why not? Here is how you can suggest a 5 o'clock fight.
What do you want Diesel and Cole Bryson to fight about next?
If you've got an ass, I'll kick it.
Submit your topics to Diesel at thefanupstate.com. Subject line fight on the Fan Upstate.
So while the results come in on the text line as well as the stream, Melissa,
Do we get to talk now?
we get let's let
I
the
think
let's
that should be a fight between the two of you. I'm going to put my suggestion in.
okay. You can email
Is FSU. I wonder who I would agree with.
well.
Whoever took my side, but I think, listen, you can't deny that they were a fantastic team. They had fantastic players. They were on a win streak from the season before. They beat 2 SEC teams.
Yeah.
They beat the premier in the ACC. And they won the ACC championship, undefeated for the whole season.
Is it the committee's job, though, to pick the 4 best teams or the 4 teams that did the most last year with this win streak?
So,
Okay,
Cole,
wait. If you had to tell me to pick the best teams, I'm going to say they really screwed up, because that is their job, is to pick the best teams.
It
okay,
is.
all right, and that's why we have a new playoff system, because they can't be dependent on to do it, because they're owned. They're owned by the media. They're owned by their representatives. I mean, this is ESPN, okay, doing this the whole playoff kind of thing.
Yeah.
There is no way that they should not have been in there, and I don't want to seem like I'm just, just
Florida
because
State
I'm a fan. Just because I'm a fan. Listen, I think Georgia should have been in there too. Okay, but if Alabama wasn't in there, Georgia should have been in there. Okay, I mean, I just don't think that it's any way fair at all.
Yeah.
The system is not fair.
Well, if you're going 4 best teams, you can change the criteria year in and year out to whatever it is you want it to be.
Now you have the championship winners. You have top 12.
Right.
Okay, you have that. They're championship winners. Your conference championship winners, and you go in there that way. And I think
I'm fine with 12.
Once you become, even the NCAA basketball Sweet 16 of March Madness is still random at the 64 point, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then they manipulate who plays who.
I mean,
so you don't know. I mean, it's all, if you think about it, you can be. Do my Hillary imitation. You can have the best team, and you can still lose the game.
Yeah. What's to say under the old system that a selection committee can't say, okay, quarterback's coach just got hired away somewhere else before they went to bowl season. Well, they can't win without their quarterback's coach, so we can't put them in.
We did win without it.
That's my point. Is you could look at any criteria you want to and say, okay, that criteria, losing that player, or the quarterback's girlfriend just cheated on him, or Manti Te'o found out that his girlfriend wasn't real, whatever. You could say any of these factors will now psych this team out and say they're not one of the best teams anymore because of this.
Has the biggest NIL with a couple of other people. Okay, who happens to be the sponsor of the Capital One Bowling? Okay, because it's really money talks, money, media.
Who's the most impactful and important player on a team? The most impactful and important position on the team.
It depends. It could either be the quarterback or the kicker.
No.
Yeah, quarterback or the field goal kicker.
The quarterback touches the ball more than anybody else.
Yeah, but field goal kickers are generally some of the highest scoring players over a career at a school.
Field goal kicker makes a difference on whether or not you win or lose.
There's defense.
Many times. Okay, your kicker and your punter and your field goal, seriously, because it's where you're going to get. Are you going to do an onside kick? Or how far are you going to get in the end zone?
So,
are you going to be the kicker and the quarterback? I think the quarterback is extremely important. But I think from a scoring perspective, the kickers really make a difference, especially field goal.
They make a difference, but they're not the most.
You can get in field goal range, okay, and win a game.
Sure.
Or lose a game.
Who got you in the field goal range? Though?
Sometimes it's your running back.
But
you just hand off the ball.
Sometimes
right? Okay?
it is.
It's always the kicker.
Spartanburg Jay agrees with Melissa. He says, by the way, Florida State got screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is that guy?
That is Spartanburg. Give him an NIL deal on Ingalls. How about it? Get that man a gift card.
We love you, Spartanburg.
Well, listen, the bottom line is, now that it's 12, Melissa, guess what we're going to talk about in 7 months from now?
We're going to talk about Florida State being in there?
No, we're going to talk about, well, this team was 13. How could they leave 13?
First of all, I do not sound like that. Okay,
no, not you. I'm just saying Florida State. The 13th team's going to cry and say, well, our starting –
but if you're the 13th team, you probably lost 4 games, and you probably don't have an argument at all.
They'll say it, though.
But I'm going to – no, I don't think – I think when you went that way, you lose your ability to do too much complaining. Just like in NCAA, they manipulate that within the basketball season too for the fun, the Sweet 16, who plays who. But you don't hear a lot of complaining about that because it does seem to have that semblance of fairness. Okay, more people get in and everything. I think with the 12, your conference champions. They got there despite their quarterback, despite their coach, despite what somebody dying.
My last question for
you. Puking before the game. They got there no matter what it is.
Right.
Okay. And that's how and then let it play out.
Before we hit a break, my last question. If Florida State gets in.
Chatty Cathy today.
I am. Because I disagree with you, so I'm going to chat it up with you. If Florida State, let's pretend Florida State gets in as 4. Does Florida State, without Jordan Travis, win a playoff game?
As last year?
Last year.
Very possibly, yes. We were loaded.
Do you think so?
Oh yeah, we were loaded.
If they had gotten in, Cole, half the team wouldn't have transferred. Tate Rodemaker would not have transferred away from the team before
what
they
about
went
Johnny
into the
Wilson?
bowl
What about
season.
So they're
Jared
still
Verse?
good.
What-
Yeah.
I don't.
Jared Verse, Johnny Wilson, Kayan Coleman. I mean, you
Yeah,
can't.
they had a lot of
everyone-
talent.
Keon
What do they
Coleman
call
won the
what do they call college football? The football in general, the ultimate team game.
Right.
Sure.
You lose one player, the team can rally around the replacement.
Nah.
You didn't give him a chance.
We
Well, let me
won.
ask you. Oh,
We beat Miami. We win the ACC
when San
championship.
Francisco lost Brock Purdy in the NFC Championship game 2 years ago against Philadelphia,
Mhm.
was the team talented? A very talented team. Was the team talented enough though without their quarterback to win?
I don't think it was there. I think the other team was more
He got-
talented than them. I don't think it was without the
So
quarterback.
the position
Yeah.
has changed.
Yeah,
now.
no, I don't think that. I mean, I think the quarterback is important, but I think they're. But for goodness sakes, he isn't the only person on the game. I mean,
No,
what
he's
do you-
not.
And we were loaded for bear. I mean, look at the Clemson game. Okay, with like in overtime, it was one of our wide receivers. And that pass wasn't even thrown by Jordan Travis. I mean, we have lots we can say, but could it come down to the kicker? What if we lost our kicker instead of our quarterback? Okay,
You've been
because if we
fine.
don't have it, not necessarily.
Oh, you've been fine. There's another kicker on this. There's another
But-
kicker on the team somewhere.
By the way, Madcraft, who texts into the show or messages into the show all the time, diehard Miami fan, don't hold
Right.
it against him.
That's okay.
He messages in #FSWho. Yeah.
That's pretty good. They also like to call us the Florida State criminals. I get that too. I like.
Well, Miami can't call y'all
No,
criminals. I mean,
no,
really, let's be
no.
honest. Yeah.
That's the pot calling the kettle
And by the
convict.
way, I'm so glad you came because I got to tell you, I love that Miami game. I have to say, those fans are some of the best fans. When we either come to Florida State, we go to Miami. It's a lot of fun. You can get some rivalries that are just horrible to go to. Right? These are
That ain't one of them.
That ain't one of them. And it's always plays. Everybody plays that you play up because you always feel like Miami. You play up to them anyway. All right, even if they're not having the best year, or we're not having. That's when you play up to. Right?
Mhm.
I got to tell them. I don't say Miami who, but I understand why he does that. It's a good friendly rivalry.
It
We've
is.
gone very, very long in this
Sorry
segment.
about that,
Melissa
guys.
Level,
So chatty Cathy.
Ingalls, marketing director of advertising, excuse me. A fantastic job as always.
Thanks, guys.
I appreciate you siding with me 2 out of 3 times.
Pay me later.
That's why I can send you away as a friend. We'll get to the Tolo's comments on this on the other side of the break. That's coming up next on the Fan Upstates.
Fan Upstate.
Your chance to win a $25 Ingles gift card if you know what product these clues are pointing towards. It's available inside each and every Ingles market. Clue number 1, this item comes in 2 sizes and can be found in several different places in and out of the store. Clue number 2, this item keeps the party going and in some cases safe. A lot of people have been texting in thinking they know the answer. They don't.
It's a tough one. I will admit, man.
Number 3, this might give it away. If you're willing to wait, you could make this item at home.
Ooh.
That narrows it down in my mind to a couple of items.
Yeah.
If you're willing to wait, you could also make this item at home. Now, if you still don't know what product we're talking about, number 4, an hour from now, is definitely going to give away the answer.
Yeah.
But if you think you know, come on down here to Ingles Markets and whisper it into our promotions team's ear, and they can put your name in the hat.
Ooh.
We are at 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs, inside the Corner Cafe. Walk through the front door, hang a right. You'll see us right there. Cole, we had a fantastic discussion to close out the 5 o'clock fight, but we didn't get a chance yet to get to the comments on the stream, the text messages that have come in. So we don't know yet who has won
and
the 5 o'clock fight.
Real quick, this is terrible, but Matt Kraft with a good text. He said he just saw a headline that read, Zion Williamson replacing Joey Chestnut in the hot dog eating contest. That is terrible, but hilarious. God, people are awful these days. You know that. That's so
true.
Funny.
That's if he can get there without blowing his shoe out. That's
that
for
is
sure.
So good.
Okay, so on the live streams, Madcraft says Cole wins round 1. Baseball is my favorite sport, but I prefer pro ball. So Madcraft, you like baseball more, but you still don't like college baseball's pro post season. Let's see here. Madcraft says that Diesel win round 2. He says that you win round 3.
Okay, there we go.
Look at you. You got a little
change my tune.
Yeah. Let's see. Shane Barrett says Cole wins round 1. Cole wins round 2. And Diesel wins round 3. So I made up one, but you win from Shane Barrett. Says, told you I love you, Cole. Also, Florida State deserved to be out. Good thing I said that.
Thank you, Shane.
With Melissa not
God,
on a headset.
Shane's the best, man. Shane's the best. I love Shane now.
Let's see here. Matt Kraft says, I can't tell if Melissa loves sports or hates them. Let's see.
Are awful.
P Digits asked, has Melissa ever stolen crab legs? Now we're getting into a weird spot here, you guys. We're getting into a weird spot. What do you got on the text line?
Nothing that bad. I mean, geez, that was rough.
Call it out.
JC says Diesel wins round 1 and 3. Cole wins 2. So JC gave you the win today, Diesel.
He's a wuss like me. Wouldn't get on a 149-mile-an-hour roller coaster.
Texter from the 804 says, this is Partner J. I'm sorry. Cole round 1 because football. Round 2, Diesel. Round 3, Cole. Got to ride it at least once.
No, you don't. I can watch it on YouTube. I get nervous watching that stuff on YouTube, man. So you ever watch these videos? It always seems to come from overseas. It's like these crazy Russian dudes who are climbing 100-story unfinished towers, and then they grab a hold of a pipe and just wiggle, shimmy out there, and then they're hanging, dangling over. So you got to try it once, huh? No, you don't.
I don't like that stuff. Let's see. Spartanburg J goes Cole. Fat Paid goes 3-0 Cole. Let's see. Spartanburg J says FSU did get screwed. 803 says, but what if we got rid of field goals in college or in football?
Why would you do that? It's part of the game.
593.
Why would you do that?
Texter from the 593 says Travis was that team, point blank, period. That comes from Amazon Guy. Amazon Guy, good to hear from you. And thank you for agreeing with me. Good little guess. I'm not going to read it, but a good guess from the 803. 864-405 says Cole takes 1 and 3 today. Diesel 2. That comes from Bullwinkle.
It's Bull something. I can tell you that.
We've had a couple of texts today that we hadn't seen those people in a while. So good to have you back on the show.
That's true. The texter with the guess there, you are correct. You have the right answer. However, we can't read it. Nobody else yet seems to have the correct answer. If you think you know what product it is we're talking about, come on down here, 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs. I lose, Cole, because I won't get on those roller coasters. Man, my parents messed me up. They put me on huge roller coasters when I was a little kid.
Just
it
terrible
messed me up.
parenting, right?
Yeah, not great parenting in that situation.
So I asked Melissa, are you for or against the skydiving? And I'll tell you why I'm asking that. Would you do it? Would you jump out of a plane?
yeah, I do it.
Okay, I would too.
Yeah, I would scream all the way down, and I might have a new embarrassing story, but I would do it.
See, I don't think I'd scream. I think I'd be so frozen. So I have a friend of mine.
Catatonic.
This place is in Chester. Okay, so like past Union. And if you've done this before in Chester, let us know. Apparently in Chester, like this is the place people go to all across the country, right? They come here, to Chester, South Carolina, and that's where they skydive. You can look the place up if you want to go do it, or if you've done it, let us know. But apparently this place is like I know this is bad, the safest place to skydive, right? Like, it's the safest place to jump out of a plane. However, I have a friend who's done it 210 times. So he has there's these levels. So the more you do it, the more levels you pass.
Yeah.
And then you can jump by yourself. And when you start out, you have to go with it's called tandem. You have to go with somebody, which is fine with me. I would probably rather go with somebody.
I know a lot of things that are better with a partner.
Yeah. And would you trust your parachute to open? I mean, that'd be the scariest part.
You got to back up there.
Yeah, but I don't feel like by myself, I'd forget where it was,
Exactly. Look, equipment at places like that terrifies me. I'm telling you, ride the roller coaster. When I ride a zip line, I think, man, this zip line little shuttle, whatever they call it, this thing has been used 1,000,001 times. Maybe the bearing is worn out, and today is the day that thing fails. That's the thought that goes through my mind, man. Like, what if today is the day that parachute, maybe that parachute packer, his girlfriend just broke up with him and he did something wrong. No, dude, that scares the crap out of me.
You know why zip lines are the absolute worst? Think about it.
Because it squeezes on body parts?
Yeah. That little thing you wear?
Yeah.
Like, what the heck is that? It's like
2024. We don't have a more comfortable way to deal with this?
Gosh, seriously.
Serious. Can I have a shoulder harness, please?
On the text line, Bullwinkle says, Bullwinkle is a new Tolo to stay. How about that?
Hey, where's Rocky Bullwinkle? That's what I want to know.
We just say we're gaining Tolos.
Yes,
we've done that. And look, we know that Diesel, what is this show? 50 what?
57.
57?
Show 57.
We're still new, but we do appreciate you being so supportive. We have gotten so many messages and texts from you, our audience, that we so much appreciate. And we've probably missed a ton, but we've gotten a ton of good feedback from you guys. And we really do mean it. We want you to be a part of the show. That's why we give the text line out and the phone line as much as we do. However, the other side of that sword is, while we want you to be a Tolo, Diesel, we said it yesterday, we also want you to fight for that crown. And that crown changes a lot, like who wears the crown. And honestly, to say, Diesel, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, I don't know that there's been somebody crown-worthy today, has there?
Not yet. I mean, we've had some decent text messages.
Yeah.
But not great. Not great. I mean, some of you guys are right. You're making good points, but not crown-worthy points, right? Like Shane Barrett says, kickers ruin everything. That was a hashtag. Kickers ruin everything.
That's funny.
Let's see here. Spur Daddy says he feels like I do. The day I did any of that crap, there'd be a mechanical failure, and you'd be reading my obituary. Yes. Now he's Spur Daddy Sour. Excuse me. He's Spur Daddy Sour. But yeah, with my father-in-law telling me stories about that theme park, big theme park.
Yeah.
Located somewhat centrally to the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Bet you can't guess which one I'm talking about. He was in charge of maintaining the rides, and he goes, "Oh man, I wouldn't get on those rides."
Yeah, I couldn't talk to somebody about that. I'd be like, let's not talk.
I mean, like, I'm glad, Cole, that I don't know any aircraft mechanics, because I don't want to know the stories of the things that they found that make them go, "Oh man." You don't want to fly on our planes.
Corn Chip on the text line says, can you tag along on our next trip to Carowinds, Diesel, and hold the kid while we go around all the rides?
just put a leash on him and tie him to the bench.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Daily Wires on the other side will update you. A lot of news last night and today. A lot of happening tonight as well. It is the Daily Wires next.
And Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Broadcasting live here inside the corner market where I have been housing some banana pudding. Man, it's fantastic what they've got here inside the deli at Ingles Markets. I'll tell you more about that coming up here in about 20 minutes or so. But it's time to get to our daily wires. Bzzz, Cole's not back, so I have to do the daily wires and the sound effects, working double duty here today on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. This is where we get to some of the sports stories that don't necessarily get a full 15-minute segment. The Orioles last night beat the Atlanta Braves 4-0. I could also say the Orioles beat the Atlanta Braves senseless.
What are you eating
Are
over
you
there?
mad? This is the last one. This is the last one.
suck.
The Orioles beat the Braves senseless 4-0. Braves tallied 5 hits, 1 error, but they fell in the game. They are now 35-29, just 6 games above 500. Max Fried scored with the loss.
They
will face the Orioles tonight at 6:35. I asked the question of Jake Mastriani. Are they in danger of dropping below 500 on this 9-game stretch? They play 9 days in a row, take a day off, and then they got to face the Yankees, Cole, who are real good. So if they're not below 500 after this stretch of games, they might be below 500 after that stretch of games.
Let's look at that. You asked the question. It's a great question.
They're now 6 games over.
They're 35-29.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a chance they drop below. That's 6 games. They'll lose 6 games today.
Yeah, they play, they got 2 more against the Orioles. They have the Rays and I believe the Tigers. Rays and Tigers are both below 500, but they're right there.
That's pitiful.
In range of going, especially when you're playing the Atlanta Braves. They could be above 500 after that series is over. Cole, game 3 of the NBA Finals tips off tonight at 8:30. Kristaps Porzingis unavailable for the game. I think it's not enough. You take out Kristaps, it's not enough. The Celtics are too good across the board. Tatum, Brown, Horford, Holiday. They are going to get the dub tonight, and I think they are going to sweep the Dallas Mavericks.
No way, Jose. There's absolutely no way.
Should I eat this banana pudding in your face? Would
you should.
Would that hurt even more?
Should. Here's one that I did want to get to. The logo, Jerry West, Diesel, passed away today at the age of 86. Listen, he is the logo, right? Like, he's the GOAT. However, I have a question for you, Diesel, as well as our audience.
No, we should not make LeBron James the logo. Don't even ask.
No. It's funny that you brought that up because it does go there.
Because they would turn the logo sideways and they would have LeBron laid out on the floor.
Here's where I want to go. Jerry West, does anybody know how many NBA Finals Jerry West lost? Does any audience? I mean, we have a huge anybody. Can anybody tell me how many finals he lost? NBA Finals. Was it 2? No. Was it 3? No. Was it 4? No. Was it 5? No. Was it 6? It was more than LeBron James has lost. So my question is the logo Jerry West, is his legacy tarnished because of the finals losses, or do we just do that with LeBron James?
No, but I don't argue that point with LeBron James. I don't argue how many finals he's lost as a reason why LeBron. A lot of people do. I don't. So you're barking up the wrong tree with that argument. Jerry West, he is a one-time 1972 NBA champion, 1969 Finals MVP, 14-time All-Star. Cole, he made the All-Star team every single year that he played in the NBA, 10-time All-NBA first team, played his entire career with the Lakers, and he's got jokes, Cole. He's got jokes. Listen to this audio of Jerry West and tell me you don't love this guy.
That's who I am, but I was not afraid. And today, again, I was getting at the players that are drafted today, and everyone, competitive people, the word dog comes up a lot. That guy's a dog. That guy, well, I was a wolf, okay? I used to eat dogs.
It's a good line. That's a good line. Give him credit.
That is great.
Give the man credit. Everybody
great.
calls himself a dog. Well, I was a wolf. I ate dogs.
That is a great line. On the text line, Bullwinkle says 7 finals losses, but not tarnished. That's my point, Bullwinkle. That's my point.
I hope, Cole, they never, ever, ever change that logo. I don't want this. I don't want any sports logo to be subject to, every 5 years we feel like we need to change it. Somebody did something bad. We find out after the fact that they did something bad, so now we got to change it back. I mean, that's enough of that stuff. Enough.
I agree with you. It won't ever be. It shouldn't be, but it never will be. It never will be. What else do we have? Anything good? Anything?
Yeah, Cole, we got the
noteworthy?
fact that Auburn has sunk so low that Georgia scheduled them as their homecoming game.
Geez.
That's got to hurt. I mean, you're supposed to schedule some slack Division II school for your homecoming. Beat the crap out of them. Have your fans feeling good. Cole, I was listening to Crane and Company. We bring Jake Crane on the station all the time. He was apoplectic about this announcement. His co-host, though, David Cohn, was saying, you know what? You're actually giving fans something they want to see on homecoming, an actually good football game. I don't know how you feel about homecoming games. I always hated the homecoming games, Cole, because they're boring. Yeah. They're dull. You knew you're going to beat a team by 50. So, why even bother going to the homecoming game? I know that Georgia probably didn't mean it as disrespect. They got to schedule somebody in homecoming. And sorry, the SEC SoCon showdown, that's later on in the season. So, they couldn't really move that one up in that scenario. So they got to play somebody, but Auburn is down. You're going to beat the tar out of Auburn, so I guess might as well make it at the homecoming game.
Matt Kraft says on the stream, I want Cole's opinion on the Porzingis injury. I think it'll have a big effect. Well, I would ask you this, Matt Kraft. Did it have a big effect when he was injured the first time, or did they roll on as usual? It didn't have a big effect. Could it have an effect? Absolutely. I don't think it'll have a huge effect. I just think eventually Dallas will out-talent ball. I think eventually they'll win a game or two.
Cole, with the U.S. Open looming this weekend, Rory McIlroy and his wife Erica have, quote, resolved their differences.
What?
And the divorce is off. Rory, the world number 3 golfer, has not won a major in almost 10 years. Maybe he decided he wanted to keep half of everything. Yeah. So, and hey, I mean, it certainly would mess up your golf game when the whole point of golf is to concentrate if you're thinking about your divorce and losing half of everything you own. So, you know what? I expect Rory to have himself a really good U.S. Open.
Rory saw the paperwork and the documents and saw the dollar figure and said, no, I love her. Here,
yeah.
Everything's fine. Everything's good. Divorce? What divorce? I mean, are you kidding me?
The NBA has sent out, Cole, its first batch of invitations to attend the draft from the green room. That's, of course, probably the guys who are going to be taken 1 through 12. Among them is Tennessee's Dalton Knecht, Baylor's Jacoby Walter, and UConn's Donovan Clingan.
Yeah, Dalton Knecht, man, he should be, right? I cannot wait to see him at the next level.
Oddly enough, Zach Edey not on that list.
No?
Zach Edey not, because they couldn't fit. And finally, Cole, both 2 Clemson players, Cam Cannarella and Aiden Kanak, were both named to the 3rd-team All-Americans list. So congratulations to the 2 Tigers being named 3rd team. Do you think it's a little bit of a snub or being named a 3rd team or a 2nd-team All-American, not 1st team? Or is it just, are you happy to be on the list at all?
I'd be happy. I mean, could it motivate you? Sure.
It's like happy to be nominated for an Oscar. You wish you'd won it, but it's great to even be nominated.
By the way, Andrew Chufo, the shortstop for the Clemson Tigers that was hurt, that tore his ACL, he did announce on Twitter 2 hours ago that he will be returning to Clemson this season. Hayden on the stream says DeChambeau winning this weekend. Never know. Could be a favorite. I hadn't looked at the odds. We'll look at the odds on air tomorrow.
These guys are going to get tired flying back and forth all the way to Saudi Arabia to pick up their checks and then come back and play in tournaments.
Did you see the video? I know we got to hit a break, but did you see the video of the Escalade that had the security guard attached to the side of it?
No.
Oh, my gosh. And this is awful. Like, live reaction on air. Somebody rolled up at the U.S. Open today. And that's the video.
Yes.
For those on the stream.
Yes.
With a security guard taped to the side of the Escalade. Is that too far?
Oh, no. It's fantastic, man. Troll away. I love it.
All right, Diesel. Interview replay on the other side with
Wes Mitchell.
There we go.
Wes Mitchell of Gamecock Central talking about the new hire. We go deep into it with Wes next on the Fan Upstate.
Fan. This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan.
Upstate.
All right, we talked about it to lead the show today. Paul Mainieri yesterday was officially introduced or officially announced as the head baseball coach. We will have audio tomorrow on the show around 4 p.m. We will have the audio for you live, assuming that we do get the link. There is an introductory press conference that will be tomorrow. I have asked if there will be a Zoom link. I was told yes. So, Diesel, we should tomorrow have the audio, and we should be able to hear Paul Mainieri himself.
Live.
That's exciting. But I asked the question. I asked the same question that I led the show with, Diesel, and I want to know from you as well as our Tolos, our audience that just tuned in. I know that our audience at 3 is different than the one at 6:30. So if you're a South Carolina Gamecock baseball fan, several things that we're asking. Diesel has a couple of questions for you in terms of what being back means, but I asked the question to start. For South Carolina baseball, how quickly can Paul Mainieri get USC back to being the premier team in the state of South Carolina? I had a listener send me a screenshot during the break, and it's a very interesting screenshot, Diesel. Here's the reality of it. Clemson the last 15 years, 2 Supers, 1 College World Series. USC the last 15 years, 7 Supers, 3 College World Series, and 2 Natties. This is a conversation that's going on message boards across the state right now where South Carolina fans are saying, look, yeah, you've had success, but you're still not the premier program. I guess I would say right now Clemson is the premier program.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they have a better history, but I think right now they're the better program.
No, if you want to make this a history conversation, then you shut the argument down. And, of course, that's what Gamecock fans want to do, right? They don't want to give Clemson any foothold whatsoever. Premier program historically, it's clearly South Carolina. But if you look at what's happened over the past couple of seasons, Cole, the answer is Clemson. They're a better program right now. It's not really a debate. You've gone through 2 coaches in the last 5 years, 6 years that have both failed that program and have both struggled to be around the 550 mark overall. Both of them struggled to be around the 500 mark in terms of conference play. I get it. You're in a tougher conference, so you're not really comparing apples to apples here, Cole. But, I mean, this is always a what have you done for me lately conversation when it comes to these 2 programs. And I'm sorry, lately, Clemson is the far better program.
And listen, South Carolina fans that bring history into it, I get it. I understand that in the last 20 years, you guys have had much more success than Clemson. But to Diesel's point, right now really matters. And I do believe that right now Clemson is the better program. But listen, we also know that in sports, things don't last forever, man. Dabo and Clemson were at the top of the mountain, and look how quickly they fell. So
right now we're bordering on Coastal Carolina being a better program than South Carolina baseball.
So the interesting question is for Gamecock fans, how long, in your opinion, until South Carolina is back? How long does it take Paul Mainieri and Monty Lee and staff to get this program back to being the premier program, beating Clemson year in and year out? 71307 is the way you can get in touch with the show. That's the text line. Start your text with the word fan. Phone lines are also open, 844-FAN-PHONE. Diesel, how long in your opinion?
Well, first we have to define what being back means. And I think if you're South Carolina, if you want to put it in terms that Paul Mainieri could actually achieve, as far as how long do we think he'll actually be around at South Carolina, I think the answer is 2 Supers in 3 years, right? I mean, neither one of us thinks he's going to be there more than 5 max.
Yeah.
The answer is probably 4, but let's just say for the sake of argument that he's only going to be around for 3 years at South Carolina. I mean, he'll be 70 3 years from right now. Do you think he's going to want to push his coaching career into his 70s? Maybe, maybe not. But at least right now, Cole, we can look at the next 3 years and say, hey, if you make super regionals twice in the next 3 years, and I'm not even saying necessarily hosting. If you're South Carolina and you're making regionals, you're probably hosting, right? Because you're a premier program. You've got a great facility. I mean, we saw it, last year when South Carolina did not deserve to host a regional, but they did because the hosting team plays in such a small stadium, so they got to host it anyway. That to me is where they need to be. I want to put something concrete on this, and I want to ask you, Gamecock Tolos, who are listening right now, do you think that's a fair benchmark to set? Being back, and we know like South Carolina fans have elevated expectations and elevated opinions of their program. For them, being back is making 2 supers out of 3.
Well, let's before we get to being back, let's define being the premier program. So I asked the question, how long do you think it takes Paul Mainieri to be the premier program? So I get that being back means winning World Series.
That may take a while because we have to see Clemson fall, and I don't think Eric Bakich and his program are going to fall anytime soon.
Yeah,
I mean, you could split hairs, and if South Carolina is, winning 17, 18 games next year in conference play, you could argue that that's a better record than whatever Eric Bakich achieves in the ACC. But I'm sorry, I'm not just going to give that to you. You have to earn it. You have to take it back. You have to win the series. At least you have to do that.
So I said earlier that for me, it comes to number one, recruiting. For South Carolina to get back to being the premier program, I think that Paul Mainieri and Monty Lee and those guys have to be able to go get the borderline recruits and get them to come to South Carolina instead of Clemson, instead of Georgia, instead of Coastal Carolina. They have to get them to come to Clemson. Get them to come to South Carolina. And then after you do win the recruiting war, I believe that the experience that Paul Mainieri has, Diesel, I believe that his experience will be enough to get the guys on the field to do the right things. He'll be able to get the most out of the guys like Eric Bakich does. And once you do that, the only next step is, I know they play it way too early in the schedule, but you got to start beating Clemson, and you have to do it consistently. When South Carolina and Clemson were both really talented, both going to World Series back in 2011, there was no better time in this state for college baseball. I want to see Clemson back in the World Series, and I also want to see South Carolina back in the World Series.
Yeah, I need to look at college baseball recruiting rankings. I don't know. I'm sure those numbers are out there, and we got to see, Clemson, who I'm sure is one of the premier recruiters in the ACC, against North Carolina and NC State and Virginia and schools like that. South Carolina has to get back to the point where they are a premier recruiter, top 3 recruiter in the SEC, and that's tough. It's tough to be that in both of those conferences. A little tougher to be that in the SEC because you just have so much power across the board at all these SEC programs.
You do, and listen, South Carolina, I asked Wes Mitchell, you just heard the interview. I asked Wes Mitchell what attracted Paul Mainieri to South Carolina. And you heard Wes Mitchell, and if you didn't hear the interview, you can go back on the rewind feature on the Odyssey app and listen. But Wes Mitchell talked about the respect between him and Ray Tanner, the history between them. Obviously, though, they both coached against each other. They know each other. And Ray Tanner had a lot of respect for a guy like Paul Mainieri. Texter from the 867 says, well, Paul is 66, so hopefully they're back quickly. This comes from Keith and TR. Well, Keith has a point, right? like Wes said it best, Diesel. Wes literally said, this is a win now hire. It is not a let's build a program hire. It is a win now hire to where South Carolina has to use the portal now, get guys here now, and win now. Because of college baseball set up the way it is, like other sports and college athletics for the portal, Diesel, you can win now. You don't have to wait as long as you used to.
Yeah, and the problem with that, Cole, is, the notes that we got from the Are You Serious sports guys who cover LSU say Paul Mainieri's not that guy. He is not going to go out and use the transfer portal. Let me rephrase that. He's not going to lead the charge for South Carolina in the transfer portal. Lucky for him, he's got Rooney, his former pitching coach at LSU. He's got Monty Lee, and those guys are willing to do that. So is it cause for concern? Maybe not. It just depends on if he comes in and he closes the deal, which is what most head coaches do. Players, how many times do we hear, Cole, when it comes to football, players commit to their position coach. They don't necessarily commit to the head coach. If that's the case in baseball as well, they commit to their recruiter, not so much the head coach. It may be nothing about nothing.
The only thing that I don't like from the LSU guys is them saying that he's not going to go out and lead the charge on the portal. My pushback to them would be, well, how do you know that? Like, he hasn't coached in this era. How do you know that he's not going to go? He knows that the college baseball landscape's changed. I don't think it's fair to say, well, he's not going to do it.
Well, I mean, I think that's probably a product of what they witnessed while he was at LSU. I don't think that necessarily means specifically with regards to the transfer portal. I mean, they watched him do his thing in Baton Rouge. They may know that he is a closer, not a starter, when it comes to going out and getting these recruits. It may be the history that they've had in covering him that informs that opinion. And then they say, oh, well, now he's also got to do it in the transfer portal era, which is something he's never done before.
Well, Paul knows this. He's a smart guy, right? He's been around for a long time. As most successful coaches know, like Dabo Swinney, you have to surround yourself with really talented assistants.
Sure.
Right? And
can't do it all yourself.
No, and more so football than baseball, because baseball is less dependent on the coaching staff, more so than football. But Paul Mainieri, I think the smartest people in the world, Diesel, the smartest people in sports, they understand when they're starting something that the only way they're going to get better is if they surround themselves with people who are better than they are. That is a true mentality. I mean, you can take it from the very smallest of smalls to the billionaires of the world. That is how people grow. That is how people become successful, is they surround themselves with people who are smarter and know what they're doing. And I think he has a really strong recruiting. I mean, I think he has a really strong staff around him, which helps.
Yeah, I think South Carolina, they got themselves a good coach in a win-now situation. Ray Tanner knows that he's got to win now, or it's his job.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much longer Ray Tanner wants to be the athletic director there at South Carolina, but, I'd be willing to bet he wants to spend another 5 or 6 years in that role. And he knows if I get this wrong 2 years from now, I'm gone.
Well,
right?
It's interesting because Ray's contract is up in 2 years. So the question becomes, does South Carolina and Ray agree to renew their contract for another 3? They may not. I don't know. He is 67. I just love what Wes Mitchell said earlier today about Monty Lee, because we've had a couple of people on the text line and on the stream who have brought this up, Diesel. With Monty Lee, there were some people who thought that he may be in the running to get the head coaching job now. Well, Wes brought up a really good point that you just heard, and he said, look, if Paul Mainieri can lead them to success, then Monty Lee all of a sudden looks like a really good recruiter. He's
sure.
Riding the wave. And then if they do want to hire Monty 5 years from now, 6 years from now, it's going to be a lot easier to do so, and that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's still got the stink of Mark Kingston on him, and the players that he's recruited to this point, as much as you may love them and as much as we spent time this season, the tail end of this baseball season, enjoying the players that were on that South Carolina roster, they didn't get you where you wanted to be.
Yeah.
And so ultimately fans will look at that and say, well, Monty Lee's recruits fell short. Monty Lee's recruits didn't get this done. So he has the opportunity now to write his own story and play himself into front-runner contention next time around, 3 to 4 years from now.
The question is that South Carolina, I think that the majority of South Carolina fans want to know if he still has it, right? Like, he's been successful. He's been there. But everybody that's been successful, it doesn't last forever. And just because you're successful in one era 20 years ago doesn't mean you're going to be successful 20 years later. Times change, right? So I think that South Carolina fans being concerned is fair. I don't think that they should be worried. I think they made a good hire. Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central, you just heard him say, Diesel, in his opinion, it is an A hire for South Carolina. So he likes the hire. He doesn't have any concerns. But I think that South Carolina, look, fans are fans, right? Fans are going to be concerned. That's just the way fans are. They should be that way. That's just the way they are. But I'll tell you this. You've got a guy who knows how to win, He's got good guys around him, so I don't think you should have any major concerns.
So, Cole, if we're rewinding the clock here, 2 years on Eric Bakich, he had won 60% of his games at Michigan. Let's just pretend for a moment that Clemson and South Carolina were both making these hires at the same time.
Sure.
Who would you rather have as your head coach, Eric Bakich or Paul Mainieri?
2 years ago?
2 years ago.
I probably would have taken Bakich 2 years ago.
328 and 216 at Michigan, a very tough place to win a lot of ball games. Right?
Yeah.
We know that we saw it. No Big Ten teams made supers this year. So it's a tough place to win. So you got a guy that's young that, I mean, obviously we're looking back on it with hindsight. We know what's happened. 88 wins over the past 2 seasons at Clemson, but he's that younger guy. He's an energetic guy. Would you rather have that younger, energetic guy or kind of the old dog who's been around the block a few times, who you know or you believe still has something left in the tank?
And we did have a couple of listeners text in earlier. We were talking about this in the 3 o'clock segment, Diesel, and we brought up Coastal Carolina. And the assistant coach that's there now, he is the associate head baseball coach, Kevin Schnall. That will be the next baseball coach at Coastal. He is the associate head coach and the recruiting coordinator. He has served with Gary Gilmore. He was ranked one of the top 15 assistant coaches by D1 Baseball, 16 NCAA regional appearances, coached 39 All-Americans. He played in the Big South. He was drafted by the Reds. So if you do follow Coastal Carolina baseball, yeah, the legend Gary Gilmore is no longer there. But the guy that they think will continue to lead this program, and Kevin Schnall, that's a interesting hire because, they feel like they've got the next guy. So they're going to be good.
Cole, I'm going to give you the 4th and final clue in your chance to win a $25 Ingles gift card. I'm going to give you all the clues, actually. But if you think you know what this product is, it's available inside every Ingles market. Come on down here. We're going to be at this particular location. We are at the Ingles at 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs. If you think you know what product I'm talking about, come on down here. You can win a $25 Ingles gift card. Clue number 1, this item comes in 2 sizes and can be found in several different places in and out of the store. Clue 2, this item keeps the party going and in some cases safe. Clue number 3, if you're willing to wait, you can also make this item at home. And here's the final one that's everyone's going to know what this is now. Blank, blank, baby.
Well, that gives it away, right?
Well, if you think you know what it is, come on down here. You can win a $25 Ingles gift card.
I think people should know now. That was that clue, like you said, Diesel.
Tolo Keith had a problem with it.
What did he say?
He was I said blank blank baby. He stared at me like I don't know.
Oh, he didn't get it.
I don't know what you mean. I don't get it. I don't get it. But what he did get
Diesel,
was
don't run our listeners away.
He got himself a Fan Upstate T-shirt and one of these nice Fan Upstate fitted hats.
Well,
we got
Keith was a listener.
One more of each left. If you want it, come on down here.
All right, final segment, Diesel, coming your way. What you got for us?
We are going to wrap things up with our daily wires and a story of a Canadian hockey fan who went viral and why. That's next on the Fan Upstate. Coming down the home stretch here on show number 57 of Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Cole, you messed this up earlier. You weren't here to do the sound effects. So let's see if we can get it right the second time around. It's time for our Daily Wires. Yeah.
Is that good?
That's great. That was great. It sounded like a June bug flew into a bug zapper.
It really did.
Let's see here. Orioles, the Baltimore Orioles smacked the Atlanta Braves last night 4-0. 5 hits and 1 error for Atlanta. They fall to 35-29, now just 6 games above 500.
I say they tank.
Max Fried took the loss. Tank.
Yeah, let's tank. Let's go ahead and tank. Let me find.
You just got to be good enough to be just be good enough to make the wild card. That should be the game. That should be the process here.
All right, I want to tank for the number 1 prospect, Huston Waldrop. How about that? Can we tank? Is it too late?
Hurston.
I mean, come on. Let's just go ahead and tank.
The Atlanta Braves will face the Orioles tonight at 6:35. So that's 10 minutes in. It's just gotten underway.
They're already lost.
Let's see. Let me guess. They're probably already down 4 runs. We're going to get you a live update here on that score here momentarily. Let's see here. That is still tied 0-0. So
Braves have their best chance right now.
Yeah, it's not still bottom of the first. So Atlanta got beat in the top half of the inning. They didn't score a single run to start the game.
Oh, breaking
let's
news.
see. Yeah.
Porzingis out tonight, officially.
Officially out. I still think the Celtics have enough to beat the Mavs, especially when it's just Luka by himself. Kyrie has not been hot in this series. 8:30 tip-off in that game, Celtics at Mavs. Tomorrow night, Cole, 8 o'clock puck drop between the Oilers and Panthers. Florida leads that series 2-0. Let's see here. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, Cole, but Aaron Rodgers missed day 1 of minicamp. Robert Saleh called it an unexcused absence, even though he knew Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be there in advance. Just remember, Cole, that Aaron Rodgers lectured everybody on keeping the nonsense out of the locker room, but the guy's got more important things going on day 1 of minicamp. So come on.
My thing here is, like, we pay money for subscriptions, right? To watch teams, to watch the Braves, to watch movies. Can I find a subscription service that I can pay monthly to where I don't have to hear about Aaron Rodgers or his name ever again? Like, I don't want to ever hear his name. I want, like, delete Aaron Rodgers permanently out of my brain.
That's going to take some very expensive therapy and hypnosis.
Oh, speaking of Aaron Rodgers, I mean, God, thanks, Diesel.
I know. I don't think you can do it by finger painting or going into a dark room or anything like that. Sorry, it's not going to work out for you. Let's see. Announced that Georgia will be playing Auburn on homecoming. Kind of play a game on homecoming, a team that you know you're going to beat the tar out of.
Well, they could.
They probably will.
Yep, they
probably will.
Yep.
The logo, Jerry West, passed away today at the age of 86. He had a long and storied career. NBA champion, finals MVP, 14-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA first team, played his entire career with the Lakers. He was actually a Minneapolis Laker before he was a Los Angeles Laker.
So if he was the logo when he was alive, present tense, what is he now? Logoed? I mean, really, what is it? He was the logo, so he's no longer here. It can't be logo anymore.
He is still the logo.
I think it's going to be logoed, ED, LOGOED. I'm going to change it.
Good luck with that.
No dead joke. I'm not saying a dead joke.
Good luck with that, Cole. Let's see. The NBA has sent out its first batch of invitations to attend the draft from the Green Room. Dalton Knecht of Tennessee, Jacoby Walker of Baylor, and Donovan Clingan of UConn among those 12 players. Expected to hear their names called, of course, on day number 1. Let's see. Rory McIlroy and his wife, Erica, have resolved their differences, and the divorce is off.
What divorce you speak of?
That's how you save half, Cole.
So
by realizing that you're still in love.
I envisioned that Rory went to the lawyer's office right before the U.S. Open, sat down. It's like, hey, man, I gotta hit the road. Let's make this quick. Let's sign these papers. Here's the papers, Rory. Open the folder. Yeah, never mind. We're good.
Wait, she's going to get how much?
Let me send her a text.
She's going to get how much?
I love you, babe. Everything's good.
Yeah, I think the answer there, Cole, if you are rich, you find and marry someone who is also rich so that they are independently wealthy and don't need to take your money.
Cheaper to keeper.
That's
Rory?
it. He has, of course, the U.S. Open coming this weekend, Cole. It's good to get that distraction off of your plate before you play in the U.S. Open. He has not won a major in nearly 10 years.
Uh-oh.
That's crazy to me that it's been a decade since Rory has won a major. But he's still the world's number 3 golfer.
Still pretty good.
Still pretty good. It'd be better, though, if he was number 2.
You know
or
what?
Number 1.
That's a great story with Rory and hadn't won a major in 10 years. I do think he'll win one. Like, he's still he hasn't lost it. Like, people say, oh, he hasn't won a major in 10 years. He's still really good.
It's because Scotty Scheffler's winning them all.
Well, that's true. And
there's not a lot of majors to go around.
Scotty won last weekend. Scotty's probably the favorites. Tomorrow we'll look at the odds and see who the favorite. It's unbelievable because you would think that Rory, like as good as he is, could win one more. And I think he will. He probably has a good shot this weekend in North Carolina.
Cam Canarella and Aiden Kanak were both named third-team All-Americans, so Clemson baseball getting 2 on the list. How about those Tigers?
That's big.
Yeah.
They deserve it.
That is big. That wraps up your daily wires, Cole. Before we get out of here, here's a fun story we had on earlier in the show. The mystery Edmonton Oilers flasher who went viral for showing her boobies mid-game on May 31st as the Oilers played the Dallas Stars has finally broken her silence on what inspired her raunchy act, Cole. She has been identified only as Kate. She was tracked down by Barstool Sports' Spittin' Chicklets podcast on Monday. She was asked, what made you do it? What made you whip off your top? She said, you know what? I don't know. Maybe it was the handful of Cheez-Its that I'd eaten that day and the 8 Trulies I drank in the first period that inspired me.
Surely it wasn't the 8
So she hadn't
Trulies.
eaten much, and she was really drunk.
Yeah, that doesn't, right?
Wouldn't be the first time a lady's ever done that because they were drunk.
God
bless Mardi Gras.
Yeah, that will certainly do it to you.
Yeah. Let's see. So the clip went viral on the internet, of course. She got many offers from different adult websites to work on their web because she is a very attractive woman. One website, Cole, promised her $100,000 to recreate the flashing scene.
Oh,
which,
wow.
you know, in this modern world, there's OnlyFans and all that stuff. There's probably a million women are like, take the money, take the money, take the money. But I don't know. We don't yet know if she's going to accept that money or not. We do know, Cole, that she works at a Canadian oil field and said, no, they're not.
That's good of her.
Real.
Good of her. Integrity still lives, right?
Yeah, but if you get $100K, you probably don't have to go work on a Canadian oil field. And I can't imagine that's a very nice place to work.
I don't know. They may make more than that. Who knows? All right, that'll do it for today. We will see you tomorrow, a Thursday edition of Wire to Wire, 3 to 7 p.m. right here on the Fan Upstate.